Everybody get ready. I'm very excited for this. We get a teaching episode. Professor Chris is going to be handling that. I, Professor Adam, will be just sitting here taking it in like one of you students in there. The Wizarding World, something that may not have always touched my life. I think I got through maybe 4 Potter books, and I know that they were probably read to me instead of me reading them, because I remember the 4th one being a real task, because was like a phone book damn near.
She's a thick lady.
Yeah, and Professor Chris loves this. He dives into this stuff for fun. This isn't just an episode that he chose.
I'm not ashamed to admit this. I'm a huge nerd when it actually means something. And this whole history, we've got some requests for another fictional history, like fantastical history and everything. And I love doing the deep dives on this because I like this world building aspect and everything. So looking into and seeing, when the Harry Potter movies, the books first came out, that was right in the middle of like from age 10 all the way up to like stuff coming out when I was 30. So that's a huge sweet spot of like catching this stuff as a child and just growing with it. But to go back and be like, okay, all this stuff is explained in the books, but what's like the history? Like that's where the imaginative stuff that I really dig comes into play of like, how did we get to this point? We're looking at current times. This episode for me, I'm going to try to focus and do it like an actual historian. But it's going to be, talking about Harry Potter is going to be maybe the last 20 minutes of this episode, maybe 30 minutes, because I'm sure I'm going to have to refresh your memory for how it actually ends. But leading up to it, there's all of this just rich backstory of how these characters came about and like the legends and things like that. And, oh, buddy, I'm excited to take you on a journey. I'm taking you to platform 9 3/4. I'm loading you onto the Hogwarts Express, and I'm just running down the track to Hogwarts.
All right. Well, before Chris gets into his 9 3/4 hog, remember, rate, review, subscribe, 5 stars, please. Hey, keep the love pouring in. We love hearing from you guys. You're fantastic. I'm sure you're going to enjoy this and start sending in more love for these fictional histories, because these are some of the funniest ones that I enjoy. Mm-hmm. I love to hear history that's fictional, because you can still explain some of the most absurd things. Like, you're going to be talking about magic. We're going to explain.
There's names in here that you're just going to be like, come on, seriously? Yeah. But about half an hour in, you're just going to be like, of course, this is what this person's name is.
But it is history, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
Is even fiction can have history to it. It just depends on who writes it. Just like the victors write the history in our times, the authors write the history here.
All right, well, without waiting any further, let's get magical. All right, so we go back to the first recorded history of the Wizarding World, which is pre-100 AD. So we're at we're in the Common Era, but the earliest recorded event is this guy. We're already getting into these names.
Jesus Christ.
No.
Oh.
Herpo the Foul.
Herpo the Foul?
Herpo the Foul, which, I mean, it's no sillier than Ivan the Terrible, if we're really thinking about it.
Yeah.
He creates this, he creates what's called the first Horcrux. And what a Horcrux is, to explain it, because it's going to come into play later in the story, is it's a bit of almost just like dark forbidden magic, where committing an act of the worst act you can do, which is an act of murder. It essentially, metaphorically, like when you commit a murder, I do think that does something to you psychologically. This basically tears a part of your soul. Now, that part can still stay in your body. It just essentially shreds a little bit off of it. The process of creating this Horcrux is you take that bit of the shard of your soul that broke off and you imbibe it, imbue it into an object. The purpose of which is, if your body is destroyed, normally your soul would then pass on. But if there's another piece of your soul tethering you to Earth, you're technically still alive. You can then reconstitute yourself and effectively become immortal by doing that.
So every Horcrux pronouncing that right?
Yep.
Horcrux still has a soul on Earth that's connected to it.
Yeah, it's just like if I were to take this cup and after I killed somebody in my soul, there is a certain act of magic you can do where I can extract that shard and then store it inside that object. And then if I were to be destroyed or killed, my spirit would not pass on because there's still something anchoring it.
Even though it's a sad thing or a bad thing.
Oh yeah, you're only doing this as an act. This isn't something that like someone who has good intentions is doing. This is like like supremely evil type shit.
All right, so not like be really bummed out, depressed.
Correct.
Put your depression into
it's
something.
What's going to be considered in the future forbidden magic, the knowledge of which is trying to be destroyed, basically on how to do this stuff.
I just got real self-conscious, buddy.
Why?
Because I realize that everybody else that's listening to this stuff probably knows about it.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
If we're getting any people that are just listening to us because they like listening to us, maybe they'll enjoy the episode or maybe they're in the same boat as you. I'm going to treat it as such.
Oh, perfect.
I'm not making any assumptions that people know this stuff.
I'm high and I don't want to ask dumb questions.
No, ask away, buddy.
Okay.
I love talking about this shit.
All right.
So between that time frame and up to 999, the progression of the magical world is just kind of the way that humanity is progressing at that point. There's certain segments of the population that are magical, more so people that are considered in different countries. There's different terms for them. In Britain, it's muggles for non-magical people. In America, they call them no-mages. In other countries, they call them the can't spells because they can't cast a spell. So each country kind of has its cracker or whatever you want for certain segments.
Well, okay. So now we have to make a delineation for me now. Mm-hmm. How does the wizarding world and the actual world, like how do they interact? Because again, I kind of remember some Harry Potter stuff. I just don't remember how this all goes.
During this point, there's not really a delineation where like they're trying to keep it secret. I'm sure that there are probably, this is where you kind of get the myth of certain tribes having like medicine people or having like elders that could perform certain acts. You get these people that are born because the way that you can be born, you can either be what they consider pure blood. So both your parents are wizards and they come from an unbroken line of wizards intermarrying with other pure blooded wizards. You then get half-bloods, which is basically like even two half wizards can then actually make a half-blood because they're both that way. It could be a wizard and then a muggle getting together. And then it can be situations where two regular non-magical parents have a magical kid. And there are circumstances for that too. Yeah.
So it's like...
Because if you think about it, what's going to happen if you're only able to use the same families that have been breeding with each other for generations, but then you're still only having the option of having one parent be magical and another. Your population, I think, wouldn't be sustainable at that point.
Does it become like not necessarily a heritage, but can you get down to like quarter wizard or quarter magic? And
yeah, I mean, technically, if you come from two non-magical parents, and there's terms for it, they call them like mudbloods.
Yeah.
Basically, if like the more darker community will call them that. And so at that point, that person I'm not sure what they're considered because you're still a full-blooded wizard, but I'm not sure what the breakdown of the delineation of that would be.
Plenty of people that walk around this country that are a quarter Italian that really embrace that quarter.
Yeah. But here's the thing. If you have magic, you have magic. It's not like, and we're going to come to find out within this history, it's not the pure-blooded wizards that are usually the most powerful or anything. They can be half-blood wizards that end up being the most famous ones or the most feared ones. So it's more of like you either have it and it's there are levels of degrees of mastery of these magical skills that make wizards more powerful. But it's not like, hey, because you're only 50%, you only have 50% the capability. You're either none or it's all in.
I'm down. I like this idea.
Okay. So we come to 900 between 990 and 1000 AD. And this comes to essentially like the founding of Hogwarts. And the legend behind the founding of Hogwarts is there are these four wizards. They're supposedly the four greatest wizards of the age. We have Godric Gryffindor, Helga Hufflepuff, Rowena Ravenclaw, and Salazar Slytherin.
You know I love alliteration.
I know you do. So they come together and they are kind of looking around. They're like, there's really no, until this point, it's been like homeschooling, like it just would have been a normal civilization where there's no organized school. There's no way for, people to have a common kind of method of teaching. It's just how you're taught by your parents. And then to answer your question about kind of the interaction, there's not like a separation of it. It's just these people are living with with non-magical people, but you then have situations that we're going to talk about further where you get the witch trials, where all of a sudden there's a negative aspect of people seeing you do magic. There's the connotation of the evil of like Satan and things like that. Other cultures may be more like, oh shit, like we have a wizard born in our culture. Like this person is going to be our priest and like might embrace it more so.
So in their version of Salem, it could have gone the other way. It could have been right.
We're going to talk about Salem.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So the four founders, one of them, I believe it was either Ravenclaw or Hufflepuff, gets this vision of actually starting this school, and they see a vision of like a Scottish loch. And as they're traveling, they see this like warthog that's just covered in warts. It's a warty warthog. And following it leads them up to this cliffside. And as they come up over the cliffside, there's this huge loch out in the middle of them. They're like, right here.
That's what they saw. That was their vision.
That was the vision.
Nice.
And then it came to pass. Well, as they were traveling, they saw the warthog, they followed it. And then she's like, I saw this in my vision. So they decide to build this school. It's in the Highlands of Scotland, near a loch.
Love it.
And Hogwarts, there are different countries have different governance of their magical communities. There's multiple schools. I think there's 9 different schools that I'm able to go ahead and kind of nail down that we're going to talk about.
That are Hogwarts adjacent?
They're not like segments. It's not like University of Phoenix or anything like that. They're not offshoots. They're their own schools that have their own way of teaching that are unaffiliated with each other.
Kind of like the
with the
Ivy League.
Governments. Kind of like what?
The Ivy League of Wizarding?
Kind of.
Okay.
Yeah. There's some of the major schools that are going to be like your Harvards, your Yales, your Stanfords, things like that. So this school is actually going to come to basically take care of the UK and then also Ireland. Because as we know, they're different. I don't know if this is coming up before the Ireland episode, but if it comes before, congratulations. You guys are getting a history of Ireland coming up soon. I won't be talking about the Wizarding World during that though. So 4 founders, they decide they're each, because of their differing values and what they actually find to be the most attractive values and what their students are going to have, they create 4 houses. Those houses are going to be they're named after them. Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, Slytherin. Gryffindor is a lion for their logo. Ravenclaw is a raven. Hufflepuff is a badger. And then Slytherin, snake. So these 4 wizards, Gryffindor was known to value like bravery and loyalty. Hufflepuff was more about like kindness. And Hufflepuffs to me are like the kids. They're, to kind of go off tangent, their common room where their dormitory is right next to the kitchens. They seem like they're the stoners of Hogwarts. Okay. They're just chill. They're cool. No one has a problem with Hufflepuff. You want to be friends with someone from Hufflepuff. And then you get Slytherin, which is like more so, it's ambition. It values ambition and everything and that drive to succeed. And then Ravenclaw is cleverness and intelligence. That's kind of what she like imbibes or kind of is sought after for her house. And
these are all personality traits that the actual wizards carry.
Yep. And what kind of what they're known for throughout the wizarding community. So they build this castle, they put all these different enchantments to basically make it look to people, because this can be seen. Mm-hmm. If someone is walking by it, there's these illusory enchantments on it that make it look like an old Scottish ruin, and all around it, it has signs. Danger, don't go in here, collapsing structure. So like no one messes with it. Slytherin, after, not long after they've actually built this school and started kind of kicking around ideas like, who are we going to accept for students? Like, what's kind of going to be our qualification or our standards? Slytherin's like, purebloods only. These are the only people that we can teach magic to. The other 3 are like, well, no, there's all these other people that can perform the same type of magic that we need to make sure that are educated, and it's going to help our entire culture. We're not going to, just single out one group and be like, only you can be taught magic. So he's very adamant about this, to the point where the other 3 are like, no, do what you want with your house or whatever, except, when you're sorting the ones, only accept these. But we're inviting pretty much anyone with magical ability to go ahead and learn here at this school. He ends up getting pissed off and he's like, screw you guys, I'm out of here. But before he does, he magically constructs this thing that will become known as the Chamber of Secrets underneath Hogwarts. And in the Chamber of Secrets, he actually hides a basilisk. And a basilisk in this, this world is like most, Greek mythology, things like that. It's a giant snake, except this snake, if it looks you directly in the eye, it'll kill you.
Did it turn you to stone?
If you see it indirectly. So if I were to see it in a mirror, if I were to see it in a puddle of water and not get the full force of it, it would petrify you.
Okay.
So, see, you know shit.
Yeah, I kind of remember the drawing. It's got massive fangs on it, too.
Oh, yeah, it's
it?
poisonous, too, but it only has to look at you to kill you.
Venomous or poisonous? What is it? What are we?
Venomous. So he ends up hiding this thing in here, and he makes it to where only his heir or someone that's from his line will be able to open it. And the way he ensures that is he has this skill that's not really well known or like not really widely. What am I trying to say here? Not a lot of people have it. And it's called being a parcel mouth or being able to speak parcel tongue. And you can speak to snakes. So that's how he's able to control this basilisk.
Okay.
So
he's in control of the basilisk.
Correct, by being able to speak to it, raising it, things like that.
So it's not just wild, it's under his...
Yep, and he has it hidden in here because he understands that the thing lives for fucking ever almost, and that if his descendant is able to make it down, it can then command it and force it to finish his work, which would be purging the school of anyone with non-pure blood. So this guy's pretty hardcore. Now, I have a surprise for you. And I'm going to walk this through so people know what it is visually.
Please tell me this is one of those wands that shoots the fireballs.
It's not one of the wands. I'm going to let you sort yourself into a house, and I have these ties with the colors. Now, I don't just carry these around with me. That would be ridiculous. But I did do it for a Harry Potter movie night with my kid, and I thought it was funny to be able to sort him in. Who do you think? You know what? You're a fucking Hufflepuff, buddy. No, right. You want to be a Hufflepuff.
I like the way you described it. For some reason, I always thought Hufflepuff is more of like the Ralph Wiggum types.
No. They're not. No, they're not. All right. They're not simple. Yeah, if I'm going to say that. In fact, actually, that's what I'm doing, too. That's what I'm doing. Because it's the fun house to be in. No, you know what? Everybody only wants to be Gryffindor because of Harry Potter, but guess what? Hufflepuff still, it's where it's going on. So.
It's a tight collar.
Is it a little tight on you?
Yeah. I look like a woman or a teenager from the 90s.
Oh, and also, going along with what you said before, it doesn't shoot fire, but I'm going to let you pick which one you want.
I got to go dark. I got to go walnut.
Okay, so you're going with the replica of the Harry Potter wand.
Oh.
Okay. This is a replica of the Elder Wand, most commonly used by Dumbledore and others who we will discuss.
I like this.
So,
visual aids.
Yeah, we got props. They'll be in the pictures. We'll make sure they're posted in some of the social pictures. Now, none of the other three founders that were still teaching and hanging around, they were like, no one's really going to be the headmaster, headmistress here. We're all going to be doing our thing, but we're all going to be working together for the common good. Now, in kind of seeing an example of this happening, and like it does in other parts of the world, societies do kind of evolve around the same lines, sometimes like at the same times. Mm-hmm. So you get the openings of these other magical schools, and Europe has like three big wizarding schools. It's going to be Hogwarts, it's going to be Beauxbaton's Academy of Magic, and it's going to be the Durmstrang Institute. So sometime before 1290, Beauxbaton's Academy of Magic is actually founded, and it's located in the Pyrenees, so the mountain range that divides France and Spain.
So they're kind of French-Iberian. So
they actually handle students from France, Spain, Portugal, the Netherlands, Luxembourg, and Belgium.
I bet I can guess where the institute is.
It's not where you think it is, but I get where your mind's at. Yeah. There's something there, but we'll get to it here in a second. It's Germany is what you're thinking, right?
Yep, yeah. Correct.
If we're talking history, Germany's got to make an appearance every now and then. So this is located up in the mountains. It looks like this giant French chateau, castle, and everything. And it's surrounded by gardens. And it's very French in the way you're thinking. Now, sometime before 1294, this is when the Durmstrang Institute is actually founded. It's located in Northern Europe, but like Norway, Swedish.
Okay.
Like almost as far north as you can get and still kind of be considered Europe without getting into Russia.
Everybody rides bikes to school. There's daisies
Oh, no, it's
everywhere.
cold as fuck. No. The way it's described, like they can only, like if they're out flying their brooms and everything like that, you're freezing. Like there are only like 3 months out of the year in which you can ride them and not be freezing your balls off.
That sucks.
Yeah, it's for like, here's the thing too. They don't allow Muggle-born students.
Oh.
So this is kind of a hardcore place, which is why I can probably think you're thinking Germany at the same time. But I'm also sure that they do accept, international students. So they will bring in other people, but you have to have that pure blood heritage.
Okay.
And this is a school that it almost encourages a learning of, kind of like in Star Wars, you have the Jedi, you have the Sith, light side and the dark side. There's the same thing with this. It's a balancing act. You have like magic that's considered benevolent and good, useful, and magic that's considered just purely evil or, punitive.
Dark magic.
So this school actually doesn't really shy away from that. It's like, we're going to teach you all the magic. So you get to learn like things that are considered unforgivable curses, torture, shit like that. It's not that big. It's one of the smaller schools. It's like a 4-story castle. So it kind of really tightens up and it has more of that Spartan kind of attitude to it. And then kind of dating back, since we're talking about the schools right now, some of the international schools, you have Castelo Brujo, which is in Brazil, and it handles all the South American students. It's roughly as old as Hogwarts, so that you get the development of that on different continents. It's located out in the Amazon, so it's designed to look like an old temple ruin to people looking at it, but then like past the illusion of the facade, it looks like a super fucking cool temple.
Were they the Mayans?
There are essentially kind of, this is where some of the magic actually comes from, man. You get people that are born into these cultures where you get more of a mystical side of it, and it blends into this. This school is really well known for, like, I want to say it's herbology, so working with plants, and then also magic zoology, so magical creatures, because it's a jungle and they have all this kind of stuff. So this is what this school is known for. You have Mahutokoro, which is in Japan.
Oh, yeah.
And it is located on South Iwo Jima. Not the island where I made sure I looked into this. It's not the island where the battle took place. South Iwo Jima is right off the coast, but it's just a volcano. Literally a volcano just rising out. And the school is actually built at the top of it.
Cherry blossoms, all sorts of
I'm
that
guessing,
kind of stuff.
I'm going to assume that. Also, as old as Hogwarts, this is a school where, like Quidditch, and I'll go into an explanation of Quidditch in here a little bit, but it's essentially the wizarding sport.
Yeah, they're riding Honda brooms, of course.
Yeah, but this was introduced essentially by Europeans, but it took off. Like much like Japan and China have done. We introduced something, they're like, okay, we're just going to do it better. Yeah. And then they do that. So they're really well known for producing like quality Quidditch players. They start at the age of 7, which is pretty young. So most of these schools will start accepting students where, like Hogwarts, for example, you get your acceptance letter on your 11th birthday. And then you go to school that year. You go to school for 7 years until you're 17. This one being starting at 7, but you don't live at the school, I think, until you're 11. And they ferry the people back and forth to school that aren't staying there. They have like a shuttle service of these like giant train birds.
What?
Yeah. It's going to get ridiculous, my man.
Because was this before trains? Is that why?
It's out on an island.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay.
So this is also the smallest of some of like the major international schools. You have Ugandao, which is in the Uganda mountains. It's very old. It's the largest of all the wizarding schools. It accepts students from all over Africa. They don't use wands. It's like a European thing to use wands. They actually have perfected the art of just simply movement of the hands. I think it's known as like somatic. So you're doing the movements and everything, and they can cast spells just by using their hands.
Benedict Cumberbatch. The movie.
Oh, Doctor Strange-style.
Yeah.
Yes, Doctor Strange-style, pretty much.
I don't know why I couldn't come up with Strange.
No, you got it. It's a strange name. That's probably why.
It's one of my favorites, though.
This school is well known for like astronomy and alchemy. You then have Colavostres, which is in Russia. And nothing is known about that because, come on, man, it's Russia.
It's in Siberia.
Okay, now we get to the school that's in the United States. It's called Ilvermorny, School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. It was founded in 1627, and we're going to go back for the actual timeline of the history.
Yeah.
This is just schools and kind of letting you know what's up. It's located in western Massachusetts on top of this thing called Mount Greylock. And it was basically, it's a castle now, but it started out just as a stone home because it was founded by a witch who disguised herself as like kind of a young guy and came over on the Mayflower. After they got over here, she left into the mountains and then like kind of interacted with some other people. She met some of the natives and everything. The natives have discovered this already as far as like magic. They have their shamans and things like that. She's like, oh shit, you guys have it too. And so she kind of develops this school and she ends up marrying this nomad, and he ends up becoming the wand maker for the school. And as they adopt these two magical children, they start teaching them. Two turns into all the, getting word about these other students that are exhibiting this. And so it kind of builds the school from there.
As far as like the infrastructure around the school, I remember Gringotts Bank in that area of like the magical section of town. Is that what it was?
So this Hogwarts being in Scotland.
Yeah.
Gringotts is in Diagon Alley, which is in London.
That's the one.
And then there's also strictly wizarding communities. There's one that's close to Hogwarts that they can go and actually kind of like walk to. It's called Hogsmeade, and it's, I think, the only all wizarding community in all of Britain. So there are these little segments, but yeah, so like their main place where they go for like supplies and things like that is actually in London.
And as far as everywhere else, everybody else kind of has that too. They have that wizarding infrastructure to be able to buy that stuff.
Yeah, and it'll start to get built up here as like it starts to be more of a requirement. So Ilvermorny kind of also brings in, they, end up kind of assimilating and making, allies out of these two tribes, the Wampanoag and then the I'm going to pronounce this, Narragansett tribes, who basically, they just mix their magic together. The European shows them how to use a wand. It starts to focus and they show them how to do their things. They end up breaking up and kind of using the Hogwarts model because I believe that's where the original person that started it was actually educated. And they designed these 4 houses, and they're named after these like Native American themed things. Like you have the Horned Serpent, which is representative of students who focus on the mind. You then have Wampus, who are like, it's more about like body. Then you have the Thunderbird House, which is soul. And then this is crazy sounding, the Puckwidgie, which is like representative of the heart. So you do get these kind of Native American type influences out of this school. Now we come to the governments of these countries. So the one that people know most about, because it's a focal point essentially of the Harry Potter series, is the British Ministry of Magic. So where it kind of separates as far as like how in most governments you have the delineation between the legislative, the executive, and the judicial branch. The ministry kind of combines those all into one in different facets. You have it led by a minister, and it covers everything from communication within the wizarding world, transportation, their sports are run by certain divisions of it. It's located in London, and their high court, like our Supreme Court would be, is called, the Wizengamot. There's a quicker way to pronounce that, but I'm just trying to be very literate here. So I think it might be the Wizengamot. So it's basically their high court, and this actually predates the ministry because they needed essentially a court to try crimes and things like that. The ministry is kind of then formed around this, and the main reason why the ministry starts to be formed is they notice that because the community is growing and because there's more crossover with the non-magical community, there probably needs to be some guidelines set.
For sure, yes.
Yeah, because there's going to be some fear. Fear regarding this. In France, you have I'm going to try to pronounce this, not in French, but how they have it written, the Ministère des Affaires Magiques de la France. So, French Ministry of Magic. You have a Ministry of Magic in Germany, China, India, Italy, Norway, New Zealand, a bunch of other countries. And then the U.S. kind of like we did splitting monarchy, all that kind of stuff. We actually have the Magical Congress of the United States, or the MACUSA.
Of course.
Yeah, so this was founded in 1693. And basically, the MACUSA is founded as a direct result to the Salem witch trials of now needing to come together to protect and hide this magical community. Okay, back to history now. We come to the 14th century, which is 1301 to 1399.
Nailed it.
See, I finally got it. This is a time frame where you're getting into witch burnings. And witch burnings were, of course, when it first started, they were like, oh my God, they're starting to discover, they're reacting violently to us. But there was this thing created called the flame freeze charm. And basically, while you were being burned, you could cast this and the flames wouldn't be hot. So you would just be sitting there going, ah. And then if you were learned in it, you would have a skill to their transportation. They don't need cars. It's called apparating and disapparating. You just vanish and then you appear the place that you're thinking. So teleportation basically is what it is. So, and as the flames are rising, the smoke, you just disapparate. And they're like, oh my God, the witch is dead. We burned her up. This one witch named Wendelin the Weird was burned 47 different times.
She just kept showing back up.
They just kept catching her. I don't know how she was. Yeah, but every time they caught her and tried to burn her, she would just be like, and it was in different areas, I'm sure.
She just had no imagination. Yeah. They thought that they burned her and they walked into the pub.
She had to be a sadist and start liking it at some point and just being like, I'm going to let them think they're burning me, but it's just like it tickles. We come to 1326. This dude named Nicholas Flamel is born. This guy is going to be known as the one that creates what's going to be known as either the Philosopher's Stone or the Sorcerer's Stone. Kind of a Midas type situation where it can produce through the stone this thing called the elixir of life, which can actually make you relatively immortal. You just have to continue drinking it every so often, and it'll prolong your life for as long as you want. It can also turn any object into pure gold. So very sought after, but this guy manages to hang on to it.
So it's an alchemist stone almost? Kind of, in a way?
Huh. Yeah, I think he is an alchemist. I think that's the whole is how he ends up developing it. This thing called the Quidditch is invented. So Quidditch is, Quidditch is all the way back, man, sorry about that. Quidditch is all the way back in 1050. So Quidditch gets started early. And being the worldwide, it's soccer. It's soccer, it's football, that's what it is to the world, for the Wizarding world. And you have, I believe it's 7 players on each team. You have 3 chasers, you got 2 beaters, 1 keeper, 1 seeker. So, and the game develops by adding new things. It's kind of an amalgamation of different national games that they would play, all of them relatively on brooms and everything. So that was kind of the common factor. But you would have one country that was like, oh no, we use this ball and we try to get all of our players to pass it and then throw it through a hoop. And then one country is like, oh, we actually enchant these, or like make these balls fly around so like they can knock people off their brooms. And this other country is like, oh, we actually use, hoops instead of baskets so you can throw it through it. And we use 3 of them. So it all gets brought together into this game. So the chasers, their job is essentially they're the running backs. It's a constantly flowing game, but they are trying to move what's called the quaffle. Think of a basketball, but it's got some grip to it. Their job is to essentially pass it around and try to throw it through past the keeper into one of these 3 hoops. You get 10 points for each of these hoops that you get it through. Each team has 2 beaters, which are basically the enforcers, so kind of think hockey. These guys have clubs, basically, but they're not going to hit the other players. There are these 2 things called bludgers that are enchanted to basically fly around and try to go and hit players. And the job of the beaters is to not only keep their seeker and their keeper and their chasers from being hit, they try to hit these balls at the opposing team to try to knock them off.
Yeah.
You then have the keeper who is protecting the 3 goalposts. And then the seeker was a position that kind of came in later when there was a game that they were playing where there was no seeker at the time, but there was this species of bird called the golden snidget. And it was this little bird, probably about the size of a sparrow, but it was insanely fast. And like it could change direction super quickly. And they introduced this part of a contest where they were like taking bets on a standard Quidditch game. And someone said, hey, I'll give you 150 galleons, which is like gold pieces, their currency, if someone can catch this thing. And People were chasing it all around. No one ended up catching it, but everyone was like, this would be a perfect addition to this game to have this kind of side game going on while the actual like Quidditch match is happening. So they decide to start letting these things loose as part of the game. And instead of getting 150 gold pieces, the team that catches this, the seeker that snags it, gets 150 points for his team. So you're basically making the equivalent of 15 goals when you do this.
So it went from like a prop bet to
part of the actual game.
Okay.
Yep. So this ends up becoming the national wizarding sport once rules are established. But by kind of the 14th century, where we're getting back to, they had pretty much kind of like decimated this population of these little birds because they were just, even like backyard games were trying to snag these things and capture them. And usually when these things would be captured and grabbed onto, they're going to end up killing them because they don't want to end up letting them go. Exactly.
Lucky Cricket style.
Yeah. So this dude ends up inventing basically a mechanical enchanted version of it, and they call it Golden Snitch. And that's what we see in the films and everything, but it still can move and dart around and everything just like the bird did.
You said Japan rules the roost in the Quidditch?
Yeah, so once it was kind of established, there was a group of students that over like summer break had flown to Japan or something like that, they might have been trying to fly like across the Pacific, and they ended up getting lost. And a team that was flying around Japan, or some students or someone there, actually found them and brought them back and was like, hey, you guys should probably rest for a while. They ended up staying there for a little while and introducing them to it. And the Japanese students were like, oh yeah, we can do this. Like, we're used to flying around. Because the weather is so bad where we're on that island and everything, they end up becoming the best flyers because they're like, oh, we're used to flying in storms and heavy winds. So as soon as they got them like on a pitch where it was like perfect conditions, their flying was amazing. So they just end up dominating like the early time frame of like Quidditch. So we come to the 15th century, and we come actually to the first Quidditch World Cup. It takes place in 1473. It's the most violent match in history. There's 700 ways to actually commit a foul in Quidditch, and all 700 were actually committed during this match.
So it was just some guy, once he saw something, he's like, that's a foul.
Because there wasn't like, it was the first, like, think of being in the first Super Bowl, but it's international. And you're trying to be the first team that wins it. So yeah, they're trying every dirty trick in the book. And the thing about like medical care is there's ways to just kind of heal someone from certain injuries and get them right back in. So people are getting concussions, people are getting fingers broken.
This is the steroids era of Quidditch?
Oh yeah, this was the full on Jose Canseco, Mark McGuire era of Quidditch. And it ends up taking place between Transylvania and Flanders.
Of course.
So, not sure who won. Around this time, also kind of in the 15th century, this place called Azkaban is actually built, and it's on this little island out kind of in the Northern Sea, right above like Britain and everything like that. And it's built by basically just like this evil as shit, like dark wizard. And he develops this fortress, and what he would do is he would basically lure in sailors and everything and then like torture and kill them.
There's so much to this history that's so interesting to like think of where it's drawn from. You're talking about a siren. You're also talking about Alcatraz. You're talking about like 4 or 5 different things that had to have played a factor in coming up with this mythology.
Yeah. And what ends up happening is after this guy ends up dying, this island was what they call implausible. No one could know where it was until you knew where it was. Yeah. And after he dies, all of a sudden the enchantments start to fade and someone comes along this island. And I'll get back to that in a second in what they actually turn the island into. So 1474, we're getting to what you just mentioned earlier. This is when Gringotts is actually founded by a goblin whose name actually happened to be Gringott. And
what did his nose look like?
He's Goblin Man.
Okay.
Watch the movies.
Okay.
I'm not getting into this.
All right.
They're goblins. So this is actually the only wizarding bank in Britain. Like, the goblins run the show as far as this goes. It actually serves as like a mint for all of their coinage and their currency. For the currency, there is a sickle, there's a nut, and there's a galleon. So a sickle, I believe, is the penny, what we would consider. A nut would be like, it's not really a nickel, but I think it's more of like a 50-cent piece. And then a galleon is like more than $1. I think it's a pretty high exchange. This bank also exchanges money from like non-magical, like Muggle currency and everything. So a good example is if let's say you had one of your parents was non-magical.
Yeah.
One of your parents is magical. Non-magical parent, if they work, they're going to have a non-magical job because they're not going to be hired in the wizarding community.
I didn't even think about this part.
Your magical parent could be working at the Ministry of Magic or for any of the other jobs within the wizarding world.
And they get paid in magic currency.
They do. And then Muggles making Muggle money. But all of a sudden, you need to cash in that Muggle money for a little bit of magical money. You go to Green Gods, still do an exchange for you. And then what they do is through basically money laundering operations, they funnel the Muggle currency back out into like London and the rest of the world.
Well, and I'm sure it's probably necessary because, like you say, if you have one magic parent, one Muggle parent, and you have a mortgage to pay, you probably can't pay that in magic currency.
Because you're not always living in, you're living out in a world where you have a bank loan and everything. So, and you could take that, your money that you got from the wizarding world, convert that into dollars at the bank, and then pay your stuff and vice versa. Also in situations where you have non-magical parents, you have no access to magical money. So you're just walking into the bank and you're like, I need this $500 and whatever it exchanges to. They're like, here's your money.
Here's your nuts.
Yeah, here's your nuts, exactly. It also serves as kind of, it has vaults for people to keep their money, their valuables. And then they employ these people basically called curse breakers. It's a job within the bank that they'll hire wizards that will go around the world trying to find treasure to bring back to this bank. But because most of these treasures are cursed or there's some type of stuff going on with them, they have to be able to like get the defenses away from them and bring this treasure back.
That's nuts.
So yeah, you get magical treasure hunters for this. The Wizengamot ends up creating what's called the Order of Merlin.
Makes sense.
Merlin actually went to Hogwarts.
No way.
Yeah. He was the wizard for King Arthur's court. King Arthur had no problem with it or anything like that. But he's one of those people that's so well known. The wizarding world has trading cards. They come on the back of candy. Kind of like, what did we used to get? Oh, the gum. It was the gum that came in and it came with the baseball card behind it.
Yeah, chocolate frogs?
Yes. So the back of a chocolate frog has a card. Merlin is one of like the more well-known but like famous cards and everything.
I could go for a chocolate frog.
So they create an award which is basically kind of their version of like the Medal of Honor or like a civilian award, not a military type one. They named this after him. We're up to the 16th century. So wizard or witch named Zygmunt Budge perfects this, like isolated out on this little island, living as a hermit to himself, perfects this potion called the Felix Felicis. And it's also known as liquid luck. It's super hard to produce. You can only produce it in small amounts. Only a certain number of people are even skilled enough to attempt this. But in drinking it, you'll find that all of your like endeavors succeed. They call it liquid luck because everything you do tends to be successful. But again, it's one of those things that's so hard to produce. It's not like everybody could just have it.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very like well kept like secret. Like it's not just handed out to everybody.
So it's not sold. It's probably sold to
only
people,
certain people, and they'll have a tiny store of it just because it's so. I mean, like you have to sit there and watch it while you're making it over a long period of time. So it's very like involved in doing this. Kind of. Except it does really good stuff. I mean, meth technically, the people doing it probably does really good stuff for their houses probably get clean.
Depending on who you're looking at.
Yeah. So around this time as well, a place called the Leaky Cauldron is founded kind of outside London because this is the 16th century. It's kind of created outside the city on little crossroads, and a witch is the one that actually builds it. It turns out it's kind of a bar, also has a few rooms upstairs, and as London expands, it just kind of grows around it, and it becomes part of London. So it never changes. London just grows around it, and it's built kind of as a connection between, you're a wizard coming in from the countryside. You stop here. They're like, okay, you're getting ready to go into London and everything. Remember, it's non-magical people here. It's kind of a bridge between those.
Muggles are allowed in this Leaky Cauldron?
I believe at certain points they can actually come into it, like early on. It would be like I'm trying to think, like an inn or something kind of sitting outside a city. It would get traffic from all kinds.
Okay.
But as London grows around it, I think from the facade and from how it kind of looks like a dive bar in a dingy place. So not a lot of people frequent it unless they're, within that community. But eventually the back alley of this bar is made into the portal way into Diagon Alley. So you want to leave London, you go into Diagon Alley, through the back alley, you hit a couple bricks, they part, and it leads you right into the little town.
And it's so the town is within the city of London.
Like, think of like a pocket dimension.
Okay. There we go.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yep. That's pretty much what it is. It's magic, man. 17th century, so we're getting up there.
Hold up. So if you do something in the Muggle world and you're getting chased by the police and you know how to get into Diagon Alley, you just weave your way around, stop in there, you can jump through the wall.
I mean, you could technically just disapparate, turn down that.
Yeah. Okay.
But if you didn't have that skill, yeah, you duck in there, get in there, and then it close behind you. 17th century, like most civilizations, if you're going to start kind of building up a community, you got to have a way to treat your medical conditions and stuff. Magical ones are way different than normal ones. So this place called St. Mungo's Hospital is founded.
St. Mungo's?
Yeah, it's St. Mungo's, like something for magical maladies or mishaps. But it basically specializes, you get a, broken finger, or you need some stitches, you go to the Muggle hospital. If you're cursed by something or all the bones came out of your hand or something like that, yeah, you got to go to St. Mungo's. 1620, this is when the Mayflower sails to America. And this comes back to that person that founded Ilvermorny. Isolde Sayer, disguised as some Muggle dude named Elias Story, which I should have looked this up because I'm wondering if Elias Story was actually like a documented name on the Mayflower, which would have been cool.
Maybe.
But basically gets to the New World, leaves the Puritans because it's basically like, oh yeah, these people hate magic. Like they're going to kill me immediately if I try anything. And then goes to live in the mountains, interacts and actually meets the natives, yada, yada, yada. The school's founded literally, I think 10 years later is essentially the founding, when it's just Sayer and this nomad named James Stewart basically adopt these two children that are magical, kind of save them, and then, start building up the school and everything.
And this is why there's more of a native influence in this school as far as, okay.
Because they were also an influence because they had their own magic and everything. Quidditch finally hits America in kind of the 17th century, and it also hits New Zealand. But there is still the rule, though, that non-European teams can't compete for the World Cup.
What the? It's a World Cup.
I know, but that's gonna be rectified here.
Okay.
1692. This event is basically what separates the magical world, the wizarding world, from the normal non-magical world. It's called the International Statute of Wizarding Secrecy, and this basically goes into effect based on people's reaction and the blowback that's starting to happen on the magical community. People are, essentially prohibited from doing anything magical to make themselves known in front of muggles. It's not like they can't really like interact with them or anything like that, because that just has to be part of life. That's the majority of the population is non-magical. Yeah. You can't just stay within your little community and everything.
What year are we talking again?
1692.
Okay. Modern history in Europe, 1692. I mean, we're not quite to really any reasons to start blaming minorities yet. I mean, you're still going to, because it's just a part of history, but is there some close tie into Europe? It is a worldwide thing, right?
No, so this actually just affects Europe.
Okay.
At the moment. There are certain, stipulations that say if you have like life-threatening situations, or you can save the life of a non-magical person, you can use magic. We have ways of making people forget. They call it obliviation, or obliviating someone. They can actually just modify their memory or remove a certain memory. 1692 is when Europe experienced both war and the waning of witch hunts. So as the witch hunts started winding down, they're like, we don't want to be hunted anymore. We need to start hiding from these people.
Yeah, okay.
So 1692... also, Salem witch trials, buddy, happening in the States. In this world, some of the victims were actually magical, which is why they were blamed. But then what happens is when there becomes that fervor, that satanic panic of finding a couple witches, anything out of the ordinary is going to be considered evil. That's why you get a lot of innocent people that are burned. And it's not even like witches are satanic in this situation. No. Like they were probably trying to grow some plants or some shit.
I don't even think you could say they're satanic in really any... There's not a wizard heaven and a wizard hell, right? No. There's no real religious, because you'd have to think if you're a wizard, you'd kind of understand the tricks of religion.
Yeah, I don't even know. I didn't even look into that. It's never mentioned, which probably makes sense because they're like, well, shit, we have magic and everything. I'm sure there are certain, I don't know.
They were looking through the Bible and they realized that
Jesus was fucking a wizard.
Yeah.
Or not fucking a wizard, but Jesus was a wizard. They're just like, oh yeah, that's why the Romans killed him. He was turning water into wine.
Yep.
He was multiplying, which there are spells for that, fishes and loaves and everything.
walking on water.
I'm going to Google that during the break and see if that's a theory.
Jesus a wizard?
He kind of fits the bill, if I'm being honest. So again, with the Salem witch trials, what ends up happening is some of these judges are actually like wizards, and they are turning against, because they can kind of identify and know that community, they're turning against these other people from these magical communities because there's infighting. It's not like they're all just supportive of each other, but I think they're called scours is kind of like the negative term that these people get, that are basically like, they're bounty hunting witches and wizards, turning them over to like the non-magical community for money is basically what they're doing. And some of the judges that actually took part in the Salem witch trials are known to be, or were found out to be, magical people that were kind of selling out their community. So much so to where the immigration of magical people that are coming from Europe and stuff like that ends up like almost being halted. They're like, you guys are still doing the fucking witch trials over there and you're not separated. Like, nah, we're going to take a break from that. But this does lead to the formation. They're like, the people we have here, we got to look to protect. And this is when the Magical Congress of the United States is actually founded to bring that community together and basically be like, hey, we need to protect these people. And we also need to kind of maybe start, like they're doing in Europe, separating ourselves and kind of putting a barrier between us and the world. So while we're not interacting with it, while it's not prohibited to interact with it, we're not going to let them know what we're up to. One of their first acts that they actually did was the judges that were putting people on trial that are Salem witch trials, they captured them and put them on trial. And then they go into like hunting mode and basically start hunting like wanted or like criminal wizards or witches that are fleeing from Europe. They actually go on the hunt for them. And it's going to come to be that when, these governments and everything are formed, they have to have a law enforcement division.
Yeah, of course.
And I think they're generally known, regardless of kind of what country, at least from Britain and the United States, they're known as Aurs. AURORS. So they're just basically like the magical cops.
Okay. I don't know if we're going to get too far ahead of it or you even looked it up. Bertie Bott.
Bertie Bott's every flavored bean. It's the Jelly Belly.
It's a woman?
I believe so. Her name is Bertie.
Yeah.
My grandma's name is Bertie, so that's the only Bertie I know.
But it had to have been a pretty old invention.
I don't know when that was invented. They have some pretty cool, like they got chocolate frogs, those like licorice whips. They got some really good looking shit in the magical world.
Absolutely. I'm sure. Well, you've been to Potter World in Florida? No?
Nope.
Did they have one at Universal on the West Coast?
They did, but I didn't go to Universal last time I was there.
Oh. Goals.
Yeah. It does say that Jesus was a wizard that lived in the Muggle world. He just didn't know he was a wizard because he was Muggle born and knew nothing about the existence of that world.
Whoa. How was Jesus a Muggle?
He was Muggle born to two non-magical parents, and he never set foot with any other wizard or community that like was like, oh yeah, you're magical. Like there's this whole other world over here.
Okay. Yeah, I guess
there's
it was
also stuff
Muggle-born.
that says no, Jesus wasn't a wizard in the universe, but I like to think that Jesus was. Makes a lot more sense in this universe than it makes in ours.
I'm so much more in on Jesus if we classify him as a wizard. Yeah, that's nice. We're going to stick with that.
I feel like Jesus would have been a Hufflepuff, actually.
Maybe.
Yeah. He gave a shit about people.
Yeah.
He seemed pretty chill.
Yep.
All right. So 1707, Ministry Magic in Britain is formed. And this is basically formed around that court and everything as part of that. But its goal is like, we got to start reining in some of these witches and wizards, because with this international statute of secrecy, there were a lot of wizards that were like kind of living out loud, like big properties, mansions, all that kind of stuff. And to keep that, but to not raise suspicions, some people had a hard time moving some stuff around and like shifting their way of life. So there weren't people that were all on board with this.
Okay.
So the government is established essentially to be like, listen, we can't have you out here doing this because even a couple of you are going to spill the beans on everybody else. So it was kind of meant to kind of rein in those people. Between 1718 and 1726, they discover this abandoned fortress out on this island because all of the enchantments had dropped off of it. When they showed up on this island, I think it was someone, I don't know if it was necessarily someone from the Ministry of Magic, but I assume that if someone discovers an island, they're going to go back and be like, hey, government of the wizarding community, we just saw this island out there. They go to the island, they find that it is completely taken over by Dementors, which are basically kind of like floating zombies, except they're more ghostly, and they will try to suck your soul out.
They wear cloaks?
The cloaks are just kind of part of them.
Okay.
I think at this point, they appear just kind of like a spectral black cloaked floating figure. And they basically thrive on like suffering. They'll suck all the joy out of you and they actually feed off of it. And when you're around them, you actually kind of feel like you're reliving like the worst moments of your life.
J. Edgar Hoover was a Dementor.
Yes, he 100%. Yeah. So they end up deciding, they're like, hey, this would make a really good wizard prison. So we don't need to kick the Dementors out either, because what better way of keeping these people in cells where they're separated so the Dementors can't suck out all their souls, but we want them to suffer, so we'll lock them in these cells, and then they'll just be depressed all the time. They'll be too, defeated to fight back. And they turn it into the wizarding prison, and then Azkaban is known henceforth there as like the inescapable wizarding prison. There's a remodel that actually takes place of Hogwarts because they're like, oh shit, it's the 18th century. We should probably stop shitting in like water closets or whatever. What were the things called that in castles? Remember where the little thing was just built out on the tower and you would sit on it and you would just shit and it would fall down?
Yeah, and it had sometimes there were bricks that led their way down and it was like its own little sewer pipe.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't the privy. I'm trying to think of what it was called. Anyway, it used to have those, I'm guessing. And that might have been magically, probably not a huge issue. You could just like enchant it to like deflect the shit away out into the lake. But modern times, modern solutions, we need to go ahead and, put some piping and some plumbing in here. And all of a sudden there's this risk that this chamber of secrets that's been sitting here the whole time might get uncovered. And so just so happens at that time when they're doing this remodel, there's a student there who is actually a descendant of Slytherin. I don't know why this student doesn't open up the Chamber of Secrets or anything, but what he does do is he's able to alter some stuff in a way that when they're designing like the girls' bathroom on the second floor, I think is what it is, he's able to hide the entrance essentially behind like a row of sinks or something like that.
So it doesn't have to be a direct descendant from Steve Slytherin. It just has to be a member of the house that gets taught.
This guy, no, it has to be a descendant. He just happened to have been a descendant. If you're a descendant of Slytherin, chances are when that sorting hat hits your head, it's going to be like, fucking Slytherin.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
okay.
It's going to throw you in there quick.
So he has to have Slytherin blood, not just be a member of the house.
Correct. Oh, sorting hat. I know you asked a question about that.
Hell yeah.
So the sorting hat was actually Godric Gryffindor's hat, who they all got together and imbibed with like a life force and personality. And it's like, hey man, you're going to go ahead and choose where all these students get sorted.
Who does the sorting hat voice in the movies?
I have no clue.
I wonder if it's somebody famous that we wouldn't know. Does he have like a fun, goofy voice?
Yeah, kind of. It'd be something to hang your hat on.
That's one.
I get one.
Just for that, I got to poke a hole.
Okay, poke a hole.
Wizard remodel.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to take very long.
No, they like can repair a destroyed room with like Reparo and stuff gets fixed and everything. So, there should be never any broken things in the wizarding world. I don't think nothing is ever staying broken.
And we haven't figured out a better toilet at that point in time?
Oh no, man. I'm trying to think of like how you would wizard up an idea for a toilet. A toilet seems like a pretty practical idea. Like we need something to carry the shit away. maybe for magic, it was just like, hey, the shield just bounces the shit away, but there's a problem now because all the turds are flying out into the Black Lake. And when we're trying to swim, all that kind of stuff.
We don't just
also
open up a portal to Azkaban and shit in it.
You know what I actually just thought of?
Huh.
Okay, where are all these kids living? They're probably living out in Muggle houses and communities.
Yeah.
What do all those have?
Toilets.
Okay, you're going to go to school and live for 9 months out of the year, and you're going to be like, what am I doing here? Like, this is not a toilet. We got to modernize.
It's like using a latrine at camp. It just doesn't feel
I'm just
right.
supposed to shit down this hole? Yeah, watch the poop. I don't like that. That's going to give people issues. They had to try to acclimate in some way, right? So, yeah, he ends up being able to hide the Chamber of Secrets. We're all the way up to the 19th century. Stuff is going to start to condense now for like rapid fire portions of history.
But the Chamber of Secrets is located in a girl's bathroom on the second floor.
The entrance to it,
then it goes under.
It's like a huge slide. Like you jump in and you slide down hundreds of feet, and then it levels off, and it's basically in the caverns underneath like the cliff that Hogwarts is built on.
And the snake thing is underneath that.
The basilisk is in it.
Okay, but it's still alive, still
correct.
Kicking.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. It's still kicking. So 1830 is when the Hogwarts Express is first like introduced. The reason that they're doing this is they have people coming from all over Britain to this school, and they're like, how are we supposed to hide like 100 or hundreds of students trying to get out to this school, flying with their parents, or how are they trying to do this? Because there's enchantments on Hogwarts for security purposes that you can't apparate or disapparate within the grounds of the school. That doesn't affect the parents, but kids don't learn how to do that until like higher up in their years in Hogwarts.
Probably a good idea.
There's also rules outside of Hogwarts about underage wizards using magic because of a responsibility type thing. They're going to be a little bit less practiced and probably a little bit more careless with it. So how the Hogwarts Express comes about is they're like, we need a way to kind of like have a practical method of getting there where if someone sees it, they're just gonna be like, oh, it's a train. We also have to have a way of actually like getting the passengers on it with all these kids carrying trunks and weird animals and everything and wearing robes where people aren't going to be paying attention to it.
So let's put it behind a brick wall that people walk through.
So while they're building King's Cross Station and everything, a wizard who was able to get in with like the city planning office goes in and basically like builds this little pocket dimension and everything within the buildings of King's Cross.
And this is the only train station that goes there?
Correct.
Or are these in all train stations?
So basically this train, no, this is just at King's Cross. So you travel with your family from wherever you're going. You can get to England without drawing attention. And then to get to school, everyone gets on the train and goes to school. And the only place that the train goes to, it goes from platform 9 3/4, King's Cross, goes to Hogsmeade, which is the town that's by Hogwarts. And then there's a series of, I know, right? It's a lot of hogs, right? Yeah. There's a real hog thing because even in the town, it's like the Hogshead Bar or something like pub or something like that. But so you can get there, you get the train, it stops at Hogsmeade, turns around, and then it just waits there to go back and take the students back. They had to get the train though. And they're like, we don't really want to build a train. So what we're going to do is they end up having to cast, I think it was like 167 memory charms to steal a train from this place in like Crewe, England. I'm not sure where it is, but there's this, like, they scout out and find like this steam engine that they like, and they're like, okay, we're just going to steal that one night. Then the 167 people, they end up waking up the next day. The train's missing. They have no idea what happened to it. And then that is when the train actually appears, like at Hogsmeade, ready to go. And all 12 of the cars that came with it.
They just Men in Black.
Yes, that's exactly what they did.
People to steal a train.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Steam, Cole?
Oh, no, it's full on steam train.
Okay, so not a magic train.
No.
A train imbibed with magic, but still steam.
Yeah, full of magic. And I'm guessing probably there's like an enchanted fire in there that runs the boiler. Okay. But you still get like the classic train shit.
I like that.
Yeah. 1849. Quidditch ruling regarding fans casting spells at players is finally put into effect.
Thank God. I've been waiting.
Can you imagine you were playing in front of a stadium where everybody has a wand and knows at least to a degree how to use it. Your team starts. I'm going to paint you a picture. We're sitting at a football game. All of a sudden, guess what? Running back breaks a tackle. He heads out in the open field. Someone from the stands on the other team stands up and throws like a body binding curse, and his legs just lock up and he goes face first into the turf. Like nothing would ever be accomplished. You'd never get anything done. So finally they're like, okay, we got to control these fans. If someone cast a spell that was on the other fan base, the other team automatically won. Your team forfeit. So it really cut back on that.
So we can't have laser pointers at sporting events now because the Wizards got a ban.
That's pretty much what the equivalent of it is.
Then.
Yeah.
Jeez.
1852 is when platform 9 3/4 is established. 1862, we're heading back to Quidditch. This match got really kind of dirty, and one of the players from the other side actually threw out, I can't remember what the spell was, but it was a spell that blew off a bunch of their clothes.
A player
got pissed off during the game, pulled out his wand, cast like a jinx or whatever it would take, blew the players off a couple or clothes off a couple other players. It was the first instance where a team scored naked because they didn't stop.
Did he knock the quaffle in with his beater?
Probably. That would have been the way that I would have done it. Or at least the headline in the newspaper, the Daily Prophet, the next day.
Yeah, you don't want to be a beater in that situation because you got a new guy showing up and it's like he beat him off his
There's a lot of analogies I'm sure that were thrown around after the outcome of the match. 1865, this thing is created called the Night Bus, and looks like a double-decker bus, except it's purple. And this is basically like an emergency transport for wizards. So if you're just sitting out somewhere in England or in Britain, I think you are able to like summon or like think it that the night bus is going to show up. It'll just vanish and appear next to you. You can jump in it. And when you're in it, it's traveling insanely fast and like weaving in and out of traffic. It can contort its shape. And then it's 3 stories. So the first story is, I think, beds.
Yeah.
There's like some beds that'll slide around. Yep. And then that's on the second. And then the third, you can like sit down or something. So people will take it all the way across Britain, like sleeping for the night. Goblins are given full control of Gringotts. I guess there was some interference by the ministry and everything, getting their paws in there. And so finally they were like, okay, we're giving it back. We're going to let you run it.
They're good with money.
Yeah. 1875, the decree for the restriction of underage sorcery passes. So this is what I was talking about. Under the age of 17, outside of school, if you use any magic, you're in deep shit. You'll get a letter. There can be a hearing. You can get expelled from school, which means if you don't go through school, they can like confiscate your wand. You won't be able to use magic. Like they take it very, very seriously.
Are there still like, I guess the equivalent would be homeschooled children? Like,
yes. Yeah. Cause I mean, if you thinking about it just from like a size standpoint, I'm trying to think of like in the Great Hall at Hogwarts, you have these 4 really long tables, each one for the houses. Each house has students ranging from 11 years old to 17 years old. And then within each class, I want to say the classes aren't that huge when like the first years come in and they get sorted. I want to say maybe at max, maybe 10 first years go to each one. So if you had 70 student, would it be 70? No. 7 times 7.
49.
No, 7 times 10, sorry.
70.
Okay, 70 from each house.
Yeah.
So 280. It's not that many students.
No, it's not.
And so you probably do have a lot of people also from like more traditional families that maybe don't like the way, should we deal with now? People don't like the way kids are taught in school and they keep the kids in homeschool in a certain way.
That's probably more so why that rule. I mean, I guess you are taking kids that are under 17 and teaching them at Hogwarts. There's probably a lot of homeschool kids that are out there that are a little wilder with their spells.
Or that can't get to school or something like that, yeah. I think every kid is offered acceptance, but only certain ones. I'm not sure exactly how it works.
Poor wizard doesn't make any sense. You got to be able to afford that.
1881. So we get a major person within this history. A man named Albus Dumbledore is born.
1881?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was that old.
It's Albus Percival Wulfric Brian Dumbledore is his full name.
Wolfie. That's awesome.
1883, another well-known wizard named Gellert Grindelwald is born.
Got nothing on him.
Okay, I'm glad you don't. Now, he didn't. You're going to hear names that Dumbledore. You've heard.
Yeah.
Okay.
Know him. I can see him.
These guys are going to have a very intertwined history.
Who played Dumbledore?
I'm trying to treat this like a story.
Sorry, I just
3 different. Okay, so Jude Law,
the first one.
Okay,
I think was
Richard Harris played him for the first 2 movies.
Passed away.
He died.
Okay, that was the one I remember.
Stepped in, played him for the next 6 movies because the last one was broken up into 2. But then Jude Law plays a young one. He's pretty fucking good at it.
Richard Harris is my Dumbledore.
Richard Harris is a lot of people's Dumbledore. You're gonna fucking love this, and that's why I wrote it down. 1892. There's a thing called the Great Sasquatch Rebellion.
No.
Oh yeah. So during the American Revolution, when the Yakuza and everything was created, it was, I believe it was based somewhere maybe close to like DC.
Okay.
And during the American Revolution, no, sorry, it was like New York or Philadelphia. They actually went to Washington. They fled to West Coast.
Yeah.
And set up shop in Washington to get away from it. They tried to kind of subjugate the Sasquatch population.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yes.
There's hate in the wizard world.
There is
too.
hate in the yeah. Well, Sasquatches weren't having it. So we get the Great Sasquatch Rebellion that forces the Magical Congress of the United States to move from Washington to New York.
Yeah.
So I wonder if there's some type of like, because even if in the United States and everything, because that school has students from all over the states.
Yeah.
There are students that probably are from like Washington and everything. And like, yeah, like you got to watch out for Sasquatch in these woods, man. They do not like wizards.
They know us. They
or trying to repair bridges and everything. And be like, listen, I know my people really did a lot of shit to your people. So, 1897, a guy named Newt Scamander is born. Gotta love the names. 1899, Grindelwald, who actually was not like born in Great Britain, he actually went to Durmstrang. Okay. He ends up getting kicked out of Durmstrang for basically being too excessive in like his weird ass experiments.
The one in the Netherlands.
The one, Norway.
Okay.
Yes, but the one that like is like cool with like the dark shit.
Yeah.
Even they were like,
oh.
Yeah, even they were like, dude, you're cool it, you're out of here. So he ends up being expelled. And at the same time, Dumbledore pretty much graduates with honors from Hogwarts. He was one of those students that basically aced all of his tests. Everybody liked him. And he was almost in a position where as soon as he graduated, they're like, what job in the ministry is he going to have? And then how quickly is he going to be the next minister? I mean, there was always already that kind of talk. He actually meets Grindelwald. And I don't know if it's like the bad boy thing, because Grindelwald ends up coming to stay with like his grandmother, who just happens to live in the same town where Dumbledore and his family live.
How convenient.
I know they're around the same age. I think Dumbledore might be just a little bit older, but they kind of are kicking around these ideas. Dumbledore's kind of got revolutionary ideas about like, why should we have to hide? Like, technically, aren't we a little bit better? I mean, we have magic. We can do things that they can't. Grindelwald is like, yeah, totally. Like, we should totally like have the wizards take over, but for the greater good, because think how beneficial for society. Like, if we weren't having to hide, we could use our magic to help all of these even non-magical people. Like, we could end starvation and war, but really in his head, he's like, we can fucking be on top. So grows into basically him and Dumbledore also having a little bit of a thing together. Dumbledore's young. He's trying to experiment. He wants to figure out kind of what he's into.
You know what they say, the 1890s in Europe were a lot like the 1960s in America.
They do say that, don't they? So him and Grindelwald have a relationship. And again, I think they're like 18 and 19 at this point. I also think Dumbledore kind of being probably, I'm trying to look at this from a psychological aspect, having a lot of expectation of always being this person that did the right thing, probably sees this bad boy and is like, what are you? Yeah, talk to me about these revolutionary ideas.
Yeah, it's a tale as old as time.
So because they're both like very talented, kind of some of their plans can actually be accomplished if they really try at this. But one thing they do is they make a pact with each other. They're like, if one of us backs out of this, we need to make sure that they don't try to stop the other one if they get cold feet. They can just stand back and it can still happen.
Not a suicide pact.
No, it's a blood pact. And basically a blood pact within this world is you'll both cut your hands, and then you'll put your hands together and a drop of both your blood will merge and then go into like a pendant. What this prevents, however, is you can't even really consider trying to attack the other person. It creates this little thing in a chain, and the chain actually can be worn like a necklace. It can be worn around your hand. But if you go to have thoughts about maybe trying to step in and attack this person, the thing will tighten up around you and try to kill you and strangle you. And the only way you can get it off is to try to get those thoughts out of your head and try to calm back down.
Huh.
So it's like the ultimate prevention against one of these guys trying to stop the other one. We're now at the 20th century. So 1901, 1999. 1910, something big happens in the world. And it's World War I. So as that kind of leads up to start kicking off, because again, it doesn't...
In the 1910s,
yeah. In the 1910s.
1915.
Some with... The ministry is like, we're not sending wizards to fight in this. This is a non-magical war. We're not doing anything here.
We had to go underground. Why would we come out and help you now?
But because a lot of these guys are just like, well, we're wizards, but we're also British and everything. We live here. We like it here. So they choose to go over and fight. And some of them actually just fight without using magic. They just participate as members of the army. Newt Scamander's brother, I think, is someone that goes over and is like known as like a war hero. So there were some soldiers that ended up going over and fighting.
That's the toughest thing that you could ever do. If you're a wizard,
you have ways to maybe block bullets with a shield and stuff like.
You know what it
probably is? You're doing that if you have to. But if you're just able to like kind of sit back, you're just you have your wand hidden up your sleeve, just so you can cash it if you need to.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's getting ready to aim a gun at you, and you just make the gun too hot for them to hold or something.
We could have used some wizards on the Somme.
Yeah, we could have used some wizards in the Somme. In 1926. Sorry, I need to step back for a second. The whole Grindelwald Dumbledore thing.
Yes.
That lasts for maybe like a year. And there's a disagreement between, I think, so Dumbledore has an older brother and then has a sister. The sister has this thing where her magic didn't develop properly and she wasn't able to express it. And apparently, like, I don't want to say express like anal glands, but this kind of was I'm not going to lie, this is kind of what it sounds like. If you're not able to be in a position where you can control that flow of magic in you, it can manifest itself in almost like kind of a force, like its own essence almost, that can be like super destructive. And this kind of happened to their sister, and the parents had died. So it was the brother, the sister, and Dumbledore or Albus. And he's getting ready to run off with Grindelwald to basically go on this mission to basically change the world, to go ahead and take over. And he's like, you're going to seriously leave your sister and everything? He's like, you're going to leave us both to have to do this. And starts arguing with Grindelwald about it, but like, what are you doing? You're poisoning his mind. You're all this kind of stuff. And so I think so his brother's name is Aberforth. He either draws his wand on Grindelwald, Albus draws his wand, and then Grindelwald draws his wand, and they're just like, they're attacking, they're fighting. And a straight curse ends up hitting and killing their sister.
Oh.
And they're not really sure who cast it. Dumbledore basically kind of thinks he cast it, but he's not sure. Like, when there's that suspense of belief, you can have like, I know I probably did it, but there's not. Like, his greatest fear is finding out for sure that he's actually the one that did that.
And this was after they created the blood oath that they wore on the wrist. So
yes,
Dumbledore had to protect Glenn to make sure.
Or Grindelwald.
Glenn Grindelwald, yeah. Isn't that his name?
Gellert, but I love the fact that you just said, like, Steve Slytherin. I love the fact that you're just... I like it. I mean that sincerely. Because that would just be hilarious. Like, Steve Slytherin, how you doing? Glenn Grindelwald. So, as soon as this happens, Grindelwald vanishes. He's basically still has this, Dumbledore is racked with guilt over this kind of stuff. He decides to then recommit himself to like teaching. He goes actually into teaching at Hogwarts and becomes, I think, like the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher. It might have been the Transfiguration teacher. I can't remember which one it was. But
so his governmental aspects were done, or prospects were done pretty much as soon as him and Glenn hooked up.
Not really, because they hadn't set anything in motion. They hadn't really done anything yet. It was in the planning stages. When Grindelwald left, he went to go implement it. Dumbledore's like, he never had an aspiration to serve in the ministry, to like lead. He just wanted to like I think he wanted to try to atone in a way of like trying to teach young wizards and everything like that, or young witches and wizards. So this time that Grindelwald is gone, he is chasing down these things from a legend that he had heard about. And they're called the Deathly Hallows. Have you heard that name before? It's the name of the last book.
Yeah, it sounds kind of familiar. Okay. They did 2 movies of it, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
That was always the thing growing up as a kid, was it was every Christmas release, it felt like, for forever.
It was. It really was. So the story behind this, and it's like an ancient tale. Think of it in a way that it's like Paul Bunyan, think kind of like that for us, a tall tale. There's these 3 brothers. I think their last name was the Peverells. So 3 brothers, and they are going to, and they're all, wizards. They're going to cross a river, and there's no bridge across it or anything like that. So they pull out their wands and they actually create a bridge and they walk across. Supposedly Death was actually waiting there across the river. And he's like, hey, I feel like I'm cheated. Like usually I get some victims out of this river. That's why there's no bridge here. That's why I'm hanging out. And they're like, well, no, I mean, we know magic. Like we're not going to do that. And so in an effort to trick the brothers, he's like, you know what? You guys are pretty talented. I'm going to go ahead and grant you guys, because you're so talented, I'm going to go ahead and grant you guys 3 wishes. 1 wish each. What do you guys want?
Death. Death can give wishes?
Apparently, in this story. So the first brother is like, you know what I want? He's like, I want a wand that makes me unbeatable. The ultimate wand. So Death reaches over to an elder tree and pulls out a branch and fashions it into a wand. It's like, here you go. Second brother comes up. He's like, you know what? I want to humiliate you some more. I want to be able to return people from the dead. He's like, okay, cool. Picks up a little flat rock and kind of like swirls it around in his fingers for a second. He's like, here you go. Just go ahead and flip that and think about who you want to bring back, and they'll be brought back.
Death is a monkey paw, isn't he?
Third brother goes, you know what I want? I want to be able to hide from you. And Death was like, fuck. So Death pulls off his cloak of invisibility, which is like the ultimate cloak of invisibility. He's like, fine, fucking take it, and gives it to him. Well, what happens is the first brother that has the wand goes in, finds this wizard that he had been like having a dispute with and everything, and challenges him to a duel and like instantly kills him. He's bragging about this being the unbeatable wand. Well, he's sleeping and someone sneaks into his room and slits his throat and steals the wand.
Come on.
Can't protect yourself when you're sleeping, man. You got to. So Death already knows what's going to happen with this stuff.
Yeah.
Second brother that has the stone, he's like, hell yeah. The reason he chose this is he had a either girlfriend or wife that had died, and so he wanted to bring her back. And the condition was, he wasn't thinking about it, was that they're just brought back as a spirit. They can't touch him or anything like that. Kind of a shell of themselves. It depressed him so much that he ends up killing himself. Death ends up claiming another brother.
But these things are floating around.
They're kind of legend, but Grindelwald kind of believes in certain aspects of this, like the Elder Wand, the legend of an unbeatable wand. There's almost a paper trail that can be traced throughout history of possibly this wand changing hands.
Okay.
The wand itself is thought to be almost kind of a living entity in which if someone defeats it, it has a master, and that person dies, whoever defeated that person technically becomes the master of the Elder Wand.
Okay.
So there's this trail of essentially like a bloody trail through history where this thing can almost kind of be tied in. The third brother, Death couldn't find him. He started a family and all this stuff. I know this sounds weird, like he was invisible and he's starting a family, but Death was never able to locate him because it was his own cloak. He couldn't see through it. And then the legend is at the end of his life, he basically passed the cloak on to his son, and he greeted Death on his terms as a friend.
Okay. That's where yeah.
Correct. And so
Death can't find you, you can't die.
Correct. He was old, though. Okay. He didn't stop him from aging. He was just old, but he met it on his terms. So the legend is, some of these are benevolent, some of these are used for power, greed, or whatnot. So Grindelwald during this time actually tracks down this blood trail of this wand throughout history and finds out that it's being held by this wand maker, I think like in Russia. He breaks into this guy's place. He actually locates and steals the Elder Wand.
Do they know? Sorry to keep asking questions.
No. Ask away, man.
So, when it falls to this wand collector in Russia, obviously it's been used pretty much for good things because.
Oh no.
Okay.
This thing is like anybody that is trying to get this power is murdering for it. Because you can only have your allegiance if you kill the previous person or defeat the previous person that held it.
So it's a bad thing.
It's a bad thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this guy in Russia was just like, I don't want this.
He's a wand
part with it.
No. He's a wand maker. He acquires it to the point where he is able to actually be the master of it. He's trying to reverse engineer it. And basically, he kind of gives himself up because he's bragging that he has this wand that he's reverse engineered and learned from, and his wands are now that he makes are the most powerful ones.
Oh, okay.
So he's kind of been bragging about it, and this is how Grindelwald finds out. As he's leaving with the wand, he actually stuns the wand maker. Doesn't kill him, but he stuns him, which in essence is defeating him in a duel, and becomes the master of this wand. So he's got this wand. He's essentially trying to gather followers for this wizarding revolution that they're going to launch in this war against kind of the non-magical community. So I believe it's 1926, Dumbledore, because there's still this blood pact, can't move against him.
Yeah.
And people are like, he's the only one that's powerful enough to try to take this guy out. He can't move against him for a reason that he won't explain to anybody, but it's because of this pact. And basically sends one of his former students, who is basically, he's like the Steve Irwin of the animal kingdom or of the magical world. He just loves animals. He just likes to hang out with animals and everything, and sends him to try to stop this plot and find out what Grindelwald's up to.
So he can send somebody to stop it. He just can't physically stop it himself.
Directly engage.
Gotcha.
Yep. So he ends up going over to the United States. He ends up meeting this Auror from the American Congress, Magical Congress, and they're basically able to track down and defeat Grindelwald. But he was actually disguising himself as this other. He was impersonating another United States Auror. He had killed him and took his identity and was trying to gather followers and all this stuff. They end up arresting him, and he spends the next year in basically custody in New York by the Magical Congress of the United States.
As they're trying to ship him back to Azkaban?
That's going to come into play here in a little bit.
Okay.
So December 31st of that year, 1926, a boy named Tom Riddle is born in London in an orphanage.
That one sounds familiar.
His mother ends up collapsing on the steps of the orphanage, giving birth to him, and dies about an hour later. So the only thing that she's able to say is, I want him named after his father and his grandfather. So his name ends up Tom, which is the father, Marvolo, which is the grandfather's name on her side, her dad, and then Riddle, which is the last name of the father. So that's all they pretty much know about her. And she has I want to say she had a note no, she didn't have a note. That's right. She didn't have a note or a necklace. She had sold that before. We're going to get to that in a second.
Okay.
1927, after his adventure in the United States, there's this book called Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. It's published. It's a book that's maybe pretty much used as a textbook at Hogwarts about the animals.
That sounds familiar too.
Yep. It's the name of a movie. And a series of movies.
Okay.
And in that same year, Grindelwald escapes. They're going to transfer him, just like you said, they're doing a prisoner transfer. This carriage that's being flown by these things called thestrals. Basically, think of them as almost, they almost look like skeletal horses, but they have skin, but kind of dragony wings, almost bat wings.
Little bony.
Yeah, they look creepy, but they're actually they use them for carriages. Hogwarts uses them to tow the school carriages to take them. So they're
can't be that bad.
They're just, weird looking. So the British ministry shows up, and basically they're transporting him. They don't want to use any magic to transport him because he could try to get out and everything. So they bring over a carriage towed by these things that they fly there, and they're going to fly him all the way back to London. Well, they had to keep changing his guard because he kept convincing the guards to side with him and everything. He's insanely persuasive. So they're transporting him, and he had actually switched places with one of the guards that he had convinced. And as they're transporting him, the guy in the carriage that they have at one point turns back into the guard, and the guard had actually transported himself hanging underneath the carriage and transforms into him. He basically hijacks the thing, kills a bunch of the guards, and then heads off for Paris.
With his wand.
Yes, with his wand as well. Yep.
How does that
they
work?
they had well, what they had done is they had taken his wand from him. They were
Yeah.
holding it and they were sending it back because they can do certain things with wands that can actually show like what was the previous spell, and they can be like, you murdered this person. So it's just to shore up
Okay.
evidence and everything. 1931. Since Grindelwald is out and on the loose, he's gathering up followers in Europe. He's established this base called in the Alps called like Nurmengard that he's kind of using as both his like base of operations, but also like to keep like prisoners and stuff like that he captures. And he basically engineers, it's almost like a coup. There's this vote coming up. Imagine if because the Wizarding World is smaller, they can elect a head figurehead for the entire populace, like a worldwide leader, basically. And it's called the Supreme Mugwump. So there's going to be a election in 1932 to actually see who the new one is going to be. He is able to engineer it in a way where, because, I mean, just like fucking today, man, there's like issues of nationalism and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
He has enough supporters that are looking at him and being like, yeah, maybe the Wizards should actually be on top. So he has like a growing base of support. And one of the people he ends up kind of getting onto his side, he does a lot of shit through coercion. He'll fucking mind control people and force them to do things and spy for him. But he gets the former, I want to say it's the current mugwump, the one that's moving out of office and not going to be able to run for the next election, gets him in a position where he's like, listen, kind of falsifies some evidence, I think, and has him recused of any charges on lack of evidence.
Grindelwald does.
Grindelwald.
Okay.
Yeah, against any crimes against like the Wizarding World or anything like that. And he's basically shows up at this like gathering this like political thing, and these people that are his like followers are going crazy. And this dude, he's fucking German. He's the like German minister or whatever. He's like, they're like, you're not going to let him run for this thing. He's like, we have to let him run. They're like, why? And they're like, here's the deal. He's not going to win. But if you deny him even the option of running for this, and it's a choice of the people, you're going to have blood in the streets. Let the people show that he's not going to get elected, that one of you two is going to elect him. Like, I guess, fine, we'll go ahead and do that.
Yeah, Grindelwald's gorillas in the street are going to wipe everybody out if he doesn't win.
Well, unless they're able to, there's not a ton of them, but it's the loudest voices in the room. So it seems like there's more of them. So this is going to get really magic and really nerdy.
Buddy,
I know we've already crossed that threshold, but it's going to get a little deeper. So there is a creature in magical lore that is extremely rare. It's called a Chillin. And they're native. They almost look like a large deer, but have like really cool translucent scales, like fish scale type things. They're supposed to be like the representation of the purest form of like magic in the world. And so like a young Chillin, if it looks upon somebody and they're like true of heart and pure of heart, it'll actually bow down to them. And so there's this tradition that if there is a controversial election or something like that, and people are on the fence or they need to make a determination, especially if there's now 3 candidates instead of just 2. The other 2 candidates, I believe one was from maybe South America or Spain, and the other one was from somewhere over in China or Japan. If they're in a situation like this and you can provide this Chillin and it bows to you, all of a sudden everyone's just like, oh shit, like this is definitely the guy.
We want that guy for the mugwump.
So
if only that was real.
Yeah. So Grindelwald has got his hands on one of these things, kills it, and then actually like ends up reanimating it with necromancy. So he's able to control it. There's another one. When this one was born, there was a twin that was born along with it. And the dude that wrote Fantastic Beasts, Newt Scamander, he was actually sent out to try to find him and protect him. He ends up not succeeding because they capture the first one, but then he's actually able to find the second one to like protect it.
Okay.
So what ends up happening is they're at this huge summit that takes place in this place called Beirut or something like that. It's this huge temple. I think it's in Asia. And this is where like the elections are actually like being decided. And it's being broadcast all over the world in all these different like ministries and things like that. And all of a sudden Grindelwald is there with the other 2 candidates, and they bring out the chill, and they're like, let this decide. This is the ultimate deciding factor for those of you that maybe think he's not pure of heart or true.
So he did lose the election. It was so close that they...
No. This was what was going to kind of try to be the deciding factor.
Okay.
Was this little deer thing. He ends up bringing out the one that he reanimated. Walks past the first person, doesn't bow. Walks past the second person, doesn't bow. Walks to him, bows. The whole world is seeing this, and everyone is just like, he's the dude. People start shooting up his symbol in the air and like fireworks and flares and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, the Dumbledore, who'd kind of been onto this, ends up showing up. Newt's there. He kind of had assembled like a little bit of like special ops team to try to fight against this thing. They end up showing up with the actual living one. They do a Ocean's 11 type thing to get it through the city to get there, like with different briefcases that look the same, and they're switching this thing around. The little deer's inside the briefcase. They end up getting this live one out that looks like alive. The other one was kind of like dark colored.
Yeah.
And kind of like sickly looking.
It looked like it was reanimated.
It looked like it was reanimated. People are like, we've never seen one of these before. We don't know what they're supposed to. And then they see this one like, oh, that's what they're supposed to look like.
That guy looks more reliable.
And so as they release this thing, it goes up to Grindelwald and is just looking at him and just turns around and walks away. It walks down the stairs where there's a crowd, and as the crowd parts,
God damn it.
Dumbledore is standing there, and it walks up to him, and he's like, no. And it bows down to him, and he's like, he leans down next to him, and he's like, I don't want this. He's like, there's got to be, he's like, I think that there's another deserving person here as well. But like, thank you. Like, I don't know if this deer can understand. It's fucking magical.
Why not?
And as the deer walks over to the candidate from Spain or South America, it also bows to her.
Okay.
Because she was a legit candidate and everything. Like, people liked her and everything. So she ends up getting elected. And as that's, all of her supporters are firing their things up, Grindelwald, and as the dude, like the German minister or whatever his name was, he's like, this is the real Chillin, that's a fake. Like, this, it dies in his hands.
Oh.
And everyone's like, and just, it's like that thing where they then all look over at Grindelwald, like, you literally just tried to cheat this whole system. So basically they kind of put two and two together, and they're like, oh, he's definitely guilty of all the crimes if this guy was working with him.
Yeah.
And so they go to move against him, and he goes to fire a spell at somebody. Dumbledore fires a spell not at Grindelwald, but at the spell to like actually protect this person. And as that happens, because Grindelwald is trying to attack, Dumbledore's trying to defend, it actually destroys this blood contract that they have. And as soon as this thing, like that, he sees this thing start to crack, they go into like a fight. And so they're going at each other and everything. And it's this weird like time stop fight that happens. They end up kind of getting to a draw, and he ends up escaping.
So Dumbledore held his own in this wizard duel against a guy with an unbeatable wand.
Yes.
Just wow.
And forced the other guy to have to leave.
Yeah.
So there was also a shit ton of other wizards there, but at the same time, like, he ends up bailing out. So as he escapes, this new mugwump is elected and everything like that. Everyone's happy because it's not fucking Grindelwald. And this isn't the end of it, though. He's still out. He's now, people know that he's wanted, but he's still trying to gather up these forces. He still wants to enact his plans. He's like, I could try to go through the legitimate means of trying to cheat this thing, but now I'm just going to have to do all out war.
I tried to cheat the legal way. Now it's time to just be a bad
Now it's time to start, killing people. So I believe they end up not meeting again for like another 6 years. It might have been even longer than that. So he's trying to build his forces. He's trying to kind of stay under the radar. And during this whole time, he's still committing acts of terrorism. Mm-hmm. And even though Dumbledore knows that he can fight him and everything, he still doesn't want to fight him. There's only after a certain period of time when pretty much everybody is like, you're the only one that can do something at a certain point if you're as culpable as he is, if you don't do something to kind of stop this reign of terror. But before that actually happens in their fight, we get 1935, the first Atlantic broom crossing. So we get a little Amelia Earhart action. It's not Amelia, but it's Jocunda Sykes crosses it on a broom, so good for her. 1938, Tom Riddle's first year at Hogwarts.
Tom Riddle The
kid that was born on the steps of the orphanage.
Okay.
So now we're getting into stuff that's discussed in the books, movie territory, but I'm going to be kind of skimming through and just hitting the key points. I'm not going to talk about what was on the fucking great feast table for Harry and how many sausages Ron ate.
Was Tom Riddle the one that had did he get the cloak passed down to him?
That's back in history.
Okay.
Okay. Spoiler alert. The family that Harry's family comes from, the Potters, are descendants of that branch of the Peverells. The invisibility cloak that Harry has and has had for his life is the one from death. The family passed it down. Usually an invisibility cloak, the enchantment wears off of it, it tears, it rips. This thing is seems like it's indestructible. Like, you never really pay attention to it until you start thinking about it. No one is able to really detect him through it. Yeah. It never wears out. It ends up being one of these Deathly Hallows.
Okay.
So two of them
I'm
are
still a little lost, but I think we'll get up to it, right?
Okay. So he gives it. Okay, so the guy gives it to his son.
Mm-hmm.
Through the generations, it works its way down to James Potter, who we're going to get to it, but it's spoiler alert, after before he's killed, Dumbledore asked to borrow it because he thought that there was something odd about it. And then Harry gets it in his first year when Dumbledore returns it to him in secret.
Okay.
So you come to find out that Harry, since he's been 11 years old, has actually been in possession of one of these Hallows.
Wild.
All right. So Tom Riddle's first year at Hogwarts, how this comes about, kids being raised in an orphanage. Dumbledore is actually the one that goes to the orphanage to let them know that this kid has been accepted to this school. He doesn't explain it like, hey, it's a wizard school. He's like, no, it's like a boarding school that his family was actually a part of. We've tracked him back and he's going to be welcome there for 9 months out of the year. He's still going to need to come back here for 3 months to live during the summer.
We don't have a wizard orphanage program?
I guess not.
Jeez.
So I'm trying to think, nun's teacher. It might have been nuns. Orphanages and nuns, they go together. So like the head nun is, Dumbledore gets there and is like, there's something off about him. Like there's been incidences around him. Like we can't tie it directly to him. There's no logical way to do it. But like this kid's like pet squirrel didn't hang itself. And there was an instance on a summer break when we took the kids out. We try to get them outside, sometimes to the seaside, maybe once a year. He went with these other two kids into this cave, and the two kids, they weren't the same. They never really spoke again. But we can't determine if, what was he going to do that was going to shock them that much.
So Tom's a bad guy.
So
is exhibiting bad guy behavior so far.
Yes. So he, through, being outside, going to the seaside, as Dumbledore is, he knows there's something different about him. He knows he's got some skills. He's been able to, with younger kids who don't know what it is, it manifests itself when like you have strong emotions. Anger can be one of them. Or maybe if you're just kind of a sick person, you can try to figure ways to influence people. He also figures out he can talk to snakes, is one of the things. So Dumbledore shows up, he's talking to him and he's like, hey, Tom, and he's like, are you the doctor that the lady said was coming to examine me? She says, I'm not right. And through this conversation, he's explaining, he's like, you're actually a wizard. He's like, oh, it must be on my father's side because my mom died. And obviously like wizards, can't die. Like, but I've known there was something kind of, special about me. And Dumbledore's like, yeah, he's like, there's a school for it and everything. We'd like to go and come there. We have a fund for, kids to be able to go and pay for their supplies and everything. You're going to come and you're going to learn how to actually use these gifts. He's like, one thing that we don't do at this school is we don't steal. And he had known that this Tom kid had been stealing from these other kids and keeping them in a box like trophies.
He's like, klepto.
Yeah. And he's like, you're going to return everything. He's like, and this stuff isn't tolerated. And let me tell you also, the community, the wizarding government, they don't take it very lightly of using magic outside of school. And so Tom kind of like gives himself away what his true personality is at this. But as soon as he gets to school, he's a very calculating like kid already. He basically just like charms the fuck out of all his teachers and even like the headmaster. He's really talented. And he starts to kind of gather almost like a little following.
He's a psychopath.
Yeah, pretty much. That's exactly what he is.
So maybe I should have asked this earlier. if you can only practice magic at the school or in the alley, in the pockets.
Not even are you supposed to use it outside. No, not even there in the pockets.
So what's the point?
You get to use it after you're 17.
But you can't use it in the real world. You get to use it.
You just can't use it in the presence of. You could still do, like if you're in your house, I wave my wand and the dishes are clean. The food is made. The laundry's folded. Like if I want to transport, if I want to apparate, I just do it to an area that I know is outside of town. And then I just walk and I can vacation wherever.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. So there's huge benefits to it. So 39 rolls around. Another event happens in Europe. World War II kicks off. So he's going to this school while World War II is going on. I think it's kind of the same deal where maybe some of the wizards kind of take part and kind of help out, but not in a huge way, but they do still participate.
Grindelwald built the Gustav gun.
Oh, at this point in 45, that's right. We just got to 45. No, 43. Hang on. So in 43, at this point, because Tom starts his first year at 11 years old and 38, by 43, he's 15. He suspected, like we were talking about before, that his father must have been the wizard because he didn't believe the magical people because they could heal and do all that kind of stuff. Well, through investigations and he's obsessed with his lineage. He doesn't know where he came from, which I think is probably a pretty normal thing for someone that doesn't know who their parents are.
Grew up in an orphanage.
He's looking for answers, and he ends up finding out that there's no connection to anything in the wizarding world for the last name Riddle. He's like, I have to pretty much conclude at this point that it wasn't my father, so that sucks. He now figures out, going toward his mother and using his middle name, finds out that he's related to this family called, and his mother was part of this family called the Gaunts, Gaunts. The Gaunts are descendants from Salazar Slytherin. So he finds out through this series that he's actually a descendant of Salazar Slytherin, which is explaining, he's like, that's why I can speak to snakes.
Makes sense.
So now all of a sudden, a kid that had no ties that he knew about to the wizarding world now finds out that he's a descendant of basically the OG, kind of shitty dark wizard.
Big Four.
Yeah, exactly. He already has aspirations to, he already has the tendency to not be a good person. Now he finds out that he's like, oh, free reign, baby. But he still keeps up that appearance of being likable by everybody. He also understands probably that there's a lot of power within him because of that lineage, and he's going to try to push it as far as he can go. So in 43, he ends up opening the Chamber of Secrets. He finds out where the entrance is and goes into it, opens it, discovers the basilisk, takes control of the basilisk, and he basically is fulfilling Slytherin's wish of trying to rid the school of, despite him being not graduated from school and not understanding what the repercussions of this happening in a school could be. Throughout the course of it, I think one girl, her name is Myrtle, she ends up being killed by this thing.
Another question here.
Mm-hmm.
He is trying to rid the school of mudbloods. But he himself has to be a mudblood, right? Because his father has no connection to the wizarding world?
He's half. So because essentially his mother his mother's family was also pureblood, but they were kind of inbred a little bit, which kind of explains the instability. There you go. But he would be a half-blood.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
but he's trying to eradicate the other half-bloods.
You get fucking delusional, man. You get power hungry and everything. I think the rationale was like, well, my blood is on that side was so pure because it was Slytherins that it completely wiped out any of this.
200% when it started.
He's going to try to erase all aspects of that, though. That's going to be kind of a running theme throughout kind of his life, is him trying to distance himself from anything to do with the non-magical world. Now, after this girl is killed, what's going to happen to a school when a student dies? It's going to fucking close down the school.
Pretty sad.
He doesn't realize that closing down the school is going to force him back to the orphanage. And so as soon as he finds this out and he's like, the school's going to close down. They're like, yeah, we don't know if this thing's going to strike again. He goes and he actually finds someone to frame. And the person he finds to frame is the dude that's going to become the gamekeeper, the groundskeeper at Hogwarts during Harry's time there. He frames Hagrid, who's going to school at the time, because Hagrid has this affinity for like these beasts and stuff. And I want to say he's like raising like a large spider.
Yeah.
And so Riddle bursts in on him when he's in the room with the spider, and he basically frames him for doing it. And because of like Hagrid's disposition, Riddle's reputation, they tend to kind of side with Tom Riddle. And Hagrid ends up getting expelled from the school, but Dumbledore, who suspects actually that it was Riddle, talks to the headmaster and he's like, let's train him to be the next groundskeeper and everything. He doesn't have anywhere else to go. So he ends up getting to stay at the school, but basically not as a student. And the previous groundskeeper kind of starts apprenticing, or he becomes an apprentice. Yeah. So Dumbledore knows it wasn't Hagrid.
Yeah.
He suspects it's Riddle, but everyone else is kind of behind him. So at this point, Riddle knows that there's like Dumbledore's got his eyes on him after this and can't do anything else for the rest of his tenure there at Hogwarts. So he ends up resealing the chamber, sealing the basilisk back in, and then figures he'll get back to it later.
And the basilisk is what killed Myrtle.
Correct. Because he essentially is in command of this thing, it's still an act of murder. So
yeah.
Part of that, he tears part of his soul. He has a diary that he's been keeping with him at Hogwarts, and he fuses that part of his soul into the diary.
So now his spirit can never leave.
So now he's created one Horcrux. So if his body, and his goal at this point now is he's like, I'm going to become the greatest wizard ever. I'm going to become immortal. And this is the key. This is the path to actually like lead me to doing it. He was able to find some information on how to create them. Like in a restricted section of the library, like just a little bit of information on it. And also I'm sure he probably snuck around some like seedy places to try to get some info.
To create the Horcrux.
Correct, because it's like completely forbidden magic.
Gotcha.
It's not common or anything like that. So that's Horcrux number 1. Same year when he's 15, he actually finds out, because he finds out his last name gone. He's like, I'm going to go visit my family during the summer, I believe it was. He ends up going, and the last house they had was just this little shack. They were poor people and everything. He ends up showing up, and only his uncle is there. And as he, was talking to his uncle, he's like, you look a lot like that guy that lives in town. And he's like, what guy are you talking about? He's like, that guy my sister ran off with. I can't believe I completely skipped that part. The sister, his Voldemort's mother, she was a witch.
Whoa. What?
Tom Riddle.
Yes.
His mom that died giving birth to him on the orphanage step, she was a witch. It was on his mother's side.
Yeah, okay.
This is her brother. The uncle is her brother.
Gotcha.
Sorry, I should have explained that. No wonder you're lost. So
there's a word in there that you use that...
What'd I use?
Voldemort.
That's going to be a name coming up.
Okay.
So
he's on his way.
Yes. So he's like, you look a lot like this guy in town. He's like, who's that? And he's like, Tom Riddle. And all of a sudden it clicks in his head and he's like, this is the guy that left my mother. And the reason he left her is because she wasn't like a great looking gal or anything like that. She was poor, but she was a witch. She cast a spell on him and a charm on him and basically made him fall in love with her. She got pregnant and she was like, you know what? This child will keep us together. He really loves me at this point. She didn't go ahead and re-up the spell. He pops out of it, looks at her and is like, peace. Like, what have I been fucking doing? And bounces. So at this point, after he has this information, he's like, where's the house at? And he's like, it's in town. It's up on the hill. He's like, okay. He knocks out his uncle. He stuns his uncle, takes his uncle's wand, because they can't tell who's casting it. They can tell what wand it was cast with. The magic was being cast. So he goes up to the house, kills his father, kills both his grandparents. They have no idea who he is. Goes up there, kills all 3 of them. And when he was talking to his uncle, the only thing his uncle had that like showed the family prestige or like had their ties to like that bloodline is they had a ring. And the ring was basically like the most valued item that the uncle still had. He takes the ring. He's like, this is my birthright. If this was Slytherin's ring or had any ties to him, he's like, this is mine now. He then, after murdering these people, the soul splits again. He takes that piece out and he puts it in the ring. So now he's got number 2. He's 15 years old and he has 2 of these Horcruxes.
Just moving quick.
Yeah. No one at school, no fucking clue. No one knows what he's doing. 1945 rolls around, so 2 years later, this is when Dumbledore finally can't kind of deny everyone's request anymore. He can't put it off any longer. He's like, okay, I gotta face Grindelwald. Things are getting too serious. I need to go and cut this thing off. So there's apparently this legendary duel, which, sidebar, I don't think they're making a fourth Fantastic Beasts. The fourth one was when this was supposed to happen.
They've made 3 of them?
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah. Probably a reason why they're not making the fourth is that you haven't heard of the other, the other 3.
Okay. There's stuff that I miss.
Yeah, but I mean, they have this. It's said to be the greatest duel people have ever witnessed in their entire lives. It's said to have gone on for, the longest. They're just at the top of their game. And also you have Grindelwald, who has the Elder Wand, which is supposed to be unbeatable.
And they're not going to make that movie? We were talking about this at the break. We're missing out on some wizards put in some situations that would just be incredible.
Yeah, they won't try. Like, can you imagine what we would turn an American wizarding movie? And yeah.
We bastardize it immediately.
Oh, yeah. They don't trust anyone with this stuff. But huge battle. Dumbledore ends up defeating him. And when asked about it, he's like, I think it was just, I was a shade more skillful and I was able to kind of overcome that. Doesn't kill him, but is able to, I believe, disarm him and defeat him. All of a sudden the Elder Wand switches over and now it's Dumbledore's. So now he knows that that's the Elder Wand. So now it's Dumbledore's wand now.
So now it's a good wand.
It will
be used.
His goal is because the reason that this thing leaves a trail of blood is because the person that kills the person can get the power. His goal ends up being, I want to try to die a natural death with this thing because it will never be anyone else's again. I'll end its reign. So that's why that's his goal, is to try to kind of take the power out of this thing. Captures Grindelwald and ends up imprisoning him in his own fortress. They cast all kinds of protections. He doesn't have a wand. He can't do anything. And he stays up in the topmost cell for the rest of his life. So he gets put away. This wizarding war that they were in against Grindelwald and his followers ends. World War II ends at the same time. So just happens to be that,
How convenient.
Which I think they also use to say, the random attacks like Grindelwald's acts of terrorism can be attributed to certain stuff that happened during the war.
Like that.
So they can kind of blend that in together a little bit. So in the same year that happens, Tom Riddle graduates. Now, from his, aptitude tests and his scores and how he performed, there's certain positions within Hogwarts that students can have. You can be head boy and head girl, and that's basically the head of your house. There's one from each house. There's then prefects, which are kind of a rung lower, but you can start being them at year 4 or 5. And then head boy or head girl is always a 7th year. It's always in their senior year that they get this. He was pretty much in every single one of these positions because he was the one that caught Hagrid and saved the school. He received a special medal for services rendered to the school. All these eyes on him, kind of like when Dumbledore came out, everyone was like, what is this kid going to do? Yeah. He can do anything. How long is it going to be before he's minister? All of a sudden, he just kind of shocks everybody. He's like, nah, he takes his job at this weird little dark arts arcane shop that buys and sells goods at Diagon Alley. It's called Borgin and Burke's. And he's acting as essentially a buyer for them. He's going out. He was really good at going out and convincing all these witches and wizards to part with their heirlooms and their artifacts and stuff. He happened to be really good at it.
He fooled everybody in school.
But in what circumstances is he actually using skills to be just influencing people and everything? It's kind of what it's alluding to, is maybe there was some tomfoolery
extra
going
on.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So
was the tomfoolery thing intentional?
It just happened to line up. Sorry.
Okay. Perfect. It was great.
There you go.
That's not number 2.
So in 1955, so again, he graduates in 1945, and he's just kind of working for this place for 10 years. 1955, there's this woman named Hepzibah Smith, and she was a rich lady. She had a really recognized heritage and everything. She was actually a descendant of Helga Hufflepuff. And so he was going over there to her house to, I believe, try to buy something from her. It was some little artifact, but it wasn't anything of real note. And he was really charming, just like he was in school. He was able to get information out of people. And as you know, he's probably flirting with her and everything like that. And she's like, "Oh, Tom, knock it off." And he's like, "Do you have anything else that like what like all these treasures? You're related to Helga Hufflepuff." She's like, "Well, actually, hold on, I'll show you something." So she's like, "I have two things." She has a cup that was originally belonged to Helga Hufflepuff. She also has like
A cup?
like a goblet,
Okay.
like golden goblet, like
Gotcha.
engraved and all this kind of stuff.
I didn't know if you said cup or cuff. I didn't know if it was like a wrist cuff. Or...
She also pulls out a necklace, and the necklace has a snake in the letter S on the front of it. It's a locket on the necklace. She's like, "This was Salazar Slytherin's." She's like, "I had previously bought it from Mr. Burke or Borgin, whoever, from that place." And she's like, "Oh, he's regretted it. He wanted it back. They've offered it, so much money to get it." She's like, "I can't give it back to him."
He's going to kill the fuck out of this lady, huh?
This necklace was an heirloom that his mother had. He didn't know about it, but she had to sell it to this shop, Borgin and Burke's, while she was desperate for money and pregnant. And all of a sudden, he looks at this and he's like, he didn't know that it was his mother's, but the fact that it's Slytherin's means it's his.
Yeah.
This lady does end up dead. And it's actually blamed on her house elf. Like Dobby. You remember Dobby from the series?
Yeah, not saying
Harry Potter. But like they're the ones that kind of serve as kind of the servant class and everything. They're the ones making all the food in Hogwarts kitchens. Her house elf is pretty old. And Riddle modifies the house elf's memory to make the house elf believe she added poison to her master's tea or anything like that. And Tom Riddle made it end up looking like that was the case. He then fucking disappears. He quits work and he is out. He ends up turning the locket. So he uses her murder because he orchestrated it, tears his soul, uses that shard to imbue in either the cup or the locket. I don't know which order. So that's number 3 that he has now. And then I believe he ends up just killing like a non-magical, like homeless person and uses that to then imbue that part of his soul into the other object. So now he's got 4.
Necessary?
He's got to kill to tear the soul. That's the only way to do it.
Oh, so he wants to put these. Okay. All right. Now we're making some sense.
In the magical world, there's a number, kind of like how we have certain stigmas around numbers, 13. There's numbers that show up in magic throughout history that seem to kind of draw power to them. 7 is one of those numbers. In his head, he's like, I'm going to make 7 of these things. 7's the most powerful number. It's going to protect me, but it'll have some type of other impact or something like that. So he ends up disappearing. 1965, gone for like 10 years. During this time, while he was at school, he had talked to, this is going to sound even weirder than it is. There's house ghosts. There's ghosts that kind of live in every house that kind of haunt the castle.
Isn't there some stuff like all the pictures move or something like that?
Oh yeah, all the pictures you can actually interact with. They almost hold a fragment or a essence of the personality of the person. You can talk to them, get advice from them, but it's not the real them, but it almost kind of is. Like Dumbledore in his office when he was headmaster, all the other previous headmaster portraits are all around the office. And if he was like, hey, he would have conversations with him and be like, what did you do about this? And like talk to him and get the knowledge from him.
Okay.
So yeah, all the pictures do end up moving.
And the ghosts are separate from them.
The ghosts are, there's just ghosts that have essentially kind of like haunted the castle. One of those ghosts is Helena Ravenclaw, is Rowena Ravenclaw's daughter. So she's been there for a long time. How she became a ghost is each of these founders had almost like an artifact. Gryffindor had the hat and the sword. Ravenclaw had a thing called a diadem. It's a tiara, but it was basically something that she'd enchanted to help her like be smarter. I think Hufflepuff maybe had the cup and something else, and then Slytherin had the locket. So he's also, the reason he's so attracted to these objects is not only they're powerful, but they have ties to Hogwarts, and basically he finds semblance in them. Like they're these powerful artifacts. Yeah, exactly. So with the tiara, the diadem, he knows the legend of it because there's pictures of Helena Ravenclaw wearing this thing. There's, stories behind it. And the story behind Helena, the daughter, is that she stole her mother's diadem and ran off with it. And there was a man that was in love with her he was a baron or something like that. He was like, I'll go find her and bring her back. So he goes and he tracks her to someplace in Albania, like a forest in Albania. He ends up killing her and then killing himself. But she had hid the diadem in a hollow tree in this forest. When Tom was going to school, he had charmed her and talked to her, and he's like, I know what it's like to feel alone.
The ghost.
It's because they would talk and everything. Okay. And so he talked to her over this, he knew the legend that she had seen this thing and she might have known where it is. Over years, he charms her until finally he is able to get out of her. She's like, and then I took it, and he's like, what did you do? Like, what did you do with it? She's like, I was in a forest and the Baron was after me, and so I hid it in a tree. He's like, how would you ever expect to find it again? She's like, oh, well, it was near this village. And so during this time frame after he disappears, he goes to try to find this thing and also tries to learn all the stuff that he couldn't learn at Hogwarts, all of these like dark magics and things like that to help him in this quest to become all powerful and immortal.
The stuff up north that they're teaching, probably some of that too.
Some of that, but he can gather that magic in certain places that are maybe known to not have magical restrictions or law enforcement and stuff like that. There's these wells of magical knowledge around the world of forbidden magics that might be in libraries or with certain individuals.
So he's moved past Grindelwald's obsession with the dark arts.
He's gone past he still has the same type of belief of magical superiority and dominance, but Grindelwald was almost like not murder crazy and he was just a guy, he was still evil, but he was that guy that's evil and just has tunnel vision toward this goal. Voldemort's goal is to be all powerful, never be threatened, and to live forever, but control everything at the same time.
Why do you keep saying that?
Why do I keep saying
Voldemort?
Around this time, after he leaves, he separates from his father's name. He wants a title himself. He wants a name that will inspire fear. He takes the name Lord Voldemort. If you were to write out Tom Marvolo Riddle,
that's what it is,
and switch the letters around, it forms I am Lord Voldemort.
Okay.
He used it as like that's not an anagram, that's the same forward and back. I can't remember exactly what it's called. But he now adopts this name in which he is now starting to be known. And his followers are now addressing him this way. He almost had a little gang of followers at school, people that he could, that wanted power or wanted prestige and things like that. A lot of these people he's going to then be in contact with later, and they're going to kind of form the core of his Gestapo, basically, called the Death Eaters.
Sounds familiar. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm in.
So, jumping over the pond really quick, 1965, the Rappaport law in the United States is repealed. Now, this law prevented any magical person from entering into a relationship or marrying any non-magical person. This is eventually repealed, and in the United States, then people can just be in whatever fucking relationship they want. So, 1965 to 1970. This is where Tom really starts to do... Sorry, I'm just going to go Voldemort now.
No, you're good. I'm listening. I got to look something up.
What are you looking up?
When was interracial marriage?
Yeah, look it up.
Yeah.
There's got to be parallels. There is parallels to all this shit. So Voldemort actually finds the diadem, ends up killing some Albanian peasant just to tear his soul so he can imbibe this thing with a piece of his soul. And now he's got 5. During this time frame, after he's able to do this, he goes back to Hogwarts. Dumbledore is headmaster at this point, and he goes and he asks him for a job. He shows up. And at this point, because of like the stuff that he had been doing, your body's not meant to tear those parts of your soul off and to take them out of your body and do all that stuff. So he's kind of undergone both as a combination of his experimentation with these darker magics. He started to actually kind of change in appearance. He's always been kind of pale, but now he becomes more pale, kind of like gaunt a little bit. He's losing his hair. He used to have a gorgeous fucking head of hair, starting to kind of lose his hair. And he hasn't taken on, do you recall from the movies, like the way he kind of has that flat nose, kind of snake-like a little bit? He's bald. He's kind of got like the veins on his head.
Yeah, he almost looks like, Simon Pegg and his buddy alien movie.
Kind of like Paul.
Yeah, Paul.
A little bit, but like pale white.
Yeah.
And more human, like proportionally human features and everything. In the books, he's got like red eyes with like snake slits and almost like sharper teeth. In the movies, he just has like, he's missing the nose, but he has slits, but he's just like pale white and everything. And his teeth are a little bit sharper.
1967, Interracial Marriage. Loving versus Kansas.
Yeah,
or
there's
Loving
a
versus
fucking
Virginia.
parallel to that. Yeah. So, but when he shows up, he's kind of in the middle of that transformation. He still looks normal enough to kind of just be like, oh, it's just a kind of a strange looking guy.
Just, yeah.
So,
face only a mother could love. And your mother died.
Yeah. And because of Dumbledore's fame, he's been awarded like the Order of Merlin at that point after he defeated Grindelwald and everything. People are like, be the Minister of Magic. Come on, man. He's like, no. He's like, I like teaching, man. He's like, I want to do this. I don't want to be in charge of but he's still known as, at that point in time, the most powerful wizard currently in existence.
And he's the headmaster at that time,
He's
not a teacher anymore.
Yep, he's now the headmaster. So Riddle goes back, and Dumbledore's been kind of keeping an ear to the ground for this. And he comes back and he's like, I heard that you were headmaster. It's good that you look well in that seat. That suits you. And he's like, I've heard some things about what you've been up to, and I'm actually kind of scared to believe half of the things that I've heard. And he's like, envy, spreads lies. Like envy creates greed. Greed makes people angry. Angry makes people lie. He's like, I wouldn't believe half of what you heard. And he's like, He's like, what are you doing here? He's like, I heard you had a vacancy for the professor of defense against the dark arts. He's like, I feel that was a subject, as you probably remember, that I excelled at in school and everything. He's like, I'd really like to give an attempt at that. And he's like, I don't think you have any aspirations to be a teacher. We can drop the pretenses and you can tell me why you're really here. He's like, you're not going to give me the job. And he's like, I'm not going to give you the job. So he ends up leaving. He fucking curses that position of defense against the dark arts teacher. And from that time, no teacher ever lasts more than a year in the position. It's a rotation. They never, from that point in like 1970, they can't keep anyone in that spot. He also uses the time there to hide the diadem in the school. I stepped on that. He finds the tiara. Yes, yeah. He had found it sometime, I think when, sometime between 65 and 70, he finds it, murders some Albanian, turns that into a Horcrux. And now he wants to hide it somewhere no one can find it.
Poor Albanians.
There's a room in Hogwarts, because, it's fucking magic, man. It's called the Room of Requirement. And it will only present itself to a student in need. It could be anything from I think it's on like the 5th, 6th, or 7th floor. It's down this corridor. And at one point, this kid has to take a piss really bad. I think it was like Fred or God, I can't think of his name. Ron. Yeah. Ron Weasley. One of his brothers was like, we actually found it. I was going down the halls and I couldn't find a bathroom. And all of a sudden, this door just materialized out of the wall. I went in there and he's like, there was like 20 stalls that I could use. It was perfect. And then we kind of played around with it and we found out that it can start doing other stuff. It becomes a room for whatever you require. So it also, if you go into it just with the general of like, I want to hide something or I want to find something, it opens up into this insane like pocket dimension, magical space where there is just a maze and a sea of all of this stuff that has been discarded, all of these objects from the school's past and all this stuff. He goes into this room because he knows about it. He discovered it during his time at school, and Voldemort hides it just somewhere in this fucking room. Do you remember Raiders of the Lost Ark, where they end up at the very end, the government seizes the Ark, Indiana Jones ends up getting it to the government, and they hide it at Area 51 in that giant warehouse where it pans back and it's just everything? Yeah. That is the Room of Requirement, but on steroids. Stuff is magically stacked just 50 feet high and all this stuff. Then he ends up leaving the school.
But this is a place that most people knew about then.
The Room of Requirement? No. You had to be in this exact position, really thinking hard about something that you needed. Like out of desperation, like I'm going to piss my pants is why the bathroom appeared for this guy. Harry ends up discovering it while he's at school because they need some place where they can train to fight without being discovered by the people that are running the school, because the school gets overtaken by like the ministry.
Gotcha.
So that's how they end up discovering, and that's how he ends up knowing about it. So after this happens, 1970, actually kicks off the beginning of this wizarding war, Voldemort's wizarding war, him trying to take over. Can we do another bathroom break?
Yeah.
All right. Oh my God, Adam. What is that up in the sky? It's a bird.
It's a plane.
It's socials. Oh my God. It's faster than Instagram.
That's historically high pod on Instagram.
More powerful than X.
It's historically high, historically HI on X.
Able to leap tall threads in a single bound.
Back to historically high pod on Threads.
And, I mean, I guess there's still Gmail, right?
We got that too. That is historically high podcast at gmail.com.
All right, guys, back to the show. All right, first Wizarding War time. So during this kind of lead up, there's a lot of these creatures and like people that are kind of disenfranchised. This is all fucking parallel to shit. And so Voldemort is able to like find creatures like the giants. They're an actual race. They've been driven by wizards like up into the mountains.
Really?
Yeah. And so he's able to kind of parlay and get them on his side. He's like, listen, I can get you guys into these cities. I can go ahead and give you guys a better life. You're not going to have to be hunted or anything. You'll have positions within my new civilization or whatever. There's fucking werewolves. And so he, like people that are like that, dark creatures, he's able to kind of bring to his side. And in 1970, he basically kind of announces himself as Lord Voldemort and launches kind of like a terror campaign across Britain. So this war is going on from 1970. 1976, at this point, kind of during the war, Harry's parents are in school. So I want to say that they start in 71 and they graduate in 78.
Both wizards?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. I want to say that his mom, Lily, was actually kind of like Hermione, where both her parents were actually non-magical. But she was, again, she would be considered, was you're a wizard, you're a witch, you're a witch. And so that's actually why Harry's aunt really doesn't like Harry, because she was jealous of her sister.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So Harry's dad, though, like I was saying, comes from, he's not pure blood because the family has intermarried, but through the generations, the Peverell bloodline that had the cloak and everything, then married into, it then was passed down through daughters and everything, which is why they had the last name Potter. So they end up, they're in school, like right as the first Wizarding War starts. Their friend, James's best friend, Sirius Black. I don't know if you recognize that name from
Not
Prisoner
really.
of Azkaban. Okay. He's in school as well. He is sorted into Gryffindor, but his family, the Blacks, were ardent supporters of kind of the Grindelwald side, and they are also leaning more toward the Voldemort side with this stuff. They are spewing a lot of this like pure blood, like Voldemort's doing the good Lord's work is what they're doing. They're normally always Slytherins, like from the entirety of their family line. He's like the first to go into Gryffindor. And he's basically the not to turn a phrase, he's the black sheep of the family.
Yeah.
And is really good. He's James' best friend. So he ends up leaving home when he's like 15 or 16. And he had an uncle that was also kind of his same mindset, didn't really like the family. His uncle left him some money when he died, and he was able to go out and like get his own apartment.
Okay.
But before that, he was living with James the Potters,
Yeah,
basically.
he's living with the radicals.
He ends up becoming like the best man at James and Lily's wedding. He's Harry's godfather. And so that comes into play a little bit later in the story. So 1978 rolls around, James, Lily, Sirius, and like their group of friends end up graduating. During this time, there's also another student at the school named Severus Snape.
Mom was also Gryffindor?
Mom was also Gryffindor.
Okay.
Snape and Lily had known each other growing up in the same town as kids. Because she was this witch out of this non-magical family, he ends up being from a magical family. He's a wizard. And so they kind of form this bond, and they're friends and everything, and they kind of help each other through some stuff. And
He looks like the fifth Beatle.
He does. Yeah, exactly. I'm Severus. I play the clarinet. Yeah, he didn't work out with the Beatles. So once they get into school, he's actually put in Slytherin, where kind of his family has always been. And they kind of grow apart, but during the summers, they'll still hang out because they kind of live in the same area. And him and James actually have this rivalry. They don't like each other. And I think during one of these altercations, he ends up getting upset at her and calls her like a mudblood or something like that.
Ooh.
And their relationship like deteriorates at that point. But he she was his best friend. He always has a spot for her. And he ends up kind of gravitating toward Voldemort's side after they end up graduating. He's into that shit. So they graduate, and as soon as they do, I think they're married within the year, and there's no standing wizard army. Like the government doesn't have an army. They have a law enforcement, the Aurors for law enforcement, but pretty much no standing army. So the ministry isn't really doing anything against Voldemort, and Dumbledore's like, fuck, I'm going to have to do this myself. So he creates basically this thing called the Order of the Phoenix. And the Phoenix was a symbol of Dumbledore's family. He had a pet phoenix.
This was a book too?
This was a book.
Okay.
The book is in reference to this first group that was gathered together to fight Voldemort during the First Wizarding War.
Gotcha.
And then the reformation of that group later. So the Order of the Phoenix has the Potters in it. Sirius Black is in it. There's another married couple named the Longbottoms. It's got all of these different conglomeration of witches and wizards.
Neville's parents.
You got it, buddy.
Yes.
You're doing so fucking good. I'm proud of you. So they all join together to help Dumbledore essentially fight this like shadow war, because Voldemort isn't coming out for like pitched battles. He's creating this terror tactics and everything, trying to draw more followers or scare more followers over to his side. Sirius has a brother. His name is Regulus, and he's kind of just the normal, he's the good boy in the family and everything.
He's Regulus.
Yeah. But he kind of sides, and he actually, after graduating, he becomes a Death Eater.
Oh, shit.
He starts to have a change of heart, though. But this is like, you don't leave. That's not an option after you leave. He finds out through some various means that Voldemort has Horcruxes. I don't know if he overhears something, because this is Voldemort's like best kept secret. But he finds out about this. Oh, no shit. Okay, can't believe I forgot this. They have a house elf. Regulus is a Death Eater.
Mm-hmm.
Voldemort comes to him and is like, I need your house elf. He's like, why? And he's like, are you fucking questioning me? He's like, no, take the house elf. He uses the house elf as a test, or as a way to test the defenses of a place where he hid his Horcrux, one of them. He hides these things and has them completely magically protected. They're the most precious thing to him. Mm-hmm. One of them is in the cave he took those kids to when he was a kid and scared the shit out of them.
Yeah.
It's going to have tons of symbolism of these sites that he picks to hide these things. He ends up hiding it in the cave, but then a false wall, and there's this giant underground cave with a giant underground lake. And in the middle of it is this crystal island. And on the crystal island, one of the crystals has like a bowl cut out of it, and it's filled with liquid. It's poison, basically. It makes you super thirsty. You have to try to drink water. It sounds like something simple, but it's going to come into play. There's a boat you can summon that'll float out of the water, and it takes you to the island. But in the water, Voldemort, a ton of the people, he killed probably hundreds of people. He turns them into these things that are basically zombies. They call them Inferi in this world. He puts them in the water. If you touch the water at all, these things will be summoned and drag you down and drown you. So what he does is he's going to place the locket in this bowl, but he has to make sure it works. So he has the house elf drink the...
Oh, no.
After he drinks it all, he sets the locket in there and then refills it with the poison and gets out of there, leaving the house elf just to die and get dragged down. You can't do the apparating, disapparating out of that place. So he takes the boat and gets out of the cave and then does it. But he doesn't understand that there's different types of magic outside of what he studied. Sometimes there is just innate magic within a species, like the house elves. They can apparate and disapparate fucking wherever they want. They can do it in Hogwarts. They can do it in this cave that normally wizards can't do. He clicks himself out of here and gets back home, but he's like been poisoned and everything. He tells Regulus what just happened. Regulus puts it together and is like, oh shit. He has the house elf take him back. He gets a locket that looks like it, puts a note inside it. And as he takes it back, the note says something to the effect of, I know your secret. I know this will probably be the death of me, but I want to let you know that it was me that took this one. And I'm dying with the hope of someone will someday stand up and you'll meet your end. Goes to the cave with the house elf. He drinks the liquid and tells the house elf, take this back and destroy it. And as the house elf leaves, the urge to drink overtakes him. He goes to the water and he gets dragged down and killed. So, that same year, James and Lily are married. So, yeah. And no one knows about Regulus dying.
Yeah, okay.
in this manner or anything. They just thought he went missing or thought that, Voldemort had gotten upset for failing something and like killed him or something like that.
Does he then get to show up as one of the ghosts that are trapped?
He probably ends up becoming one of those things too. I didn't even think about that. All right, so we come to 1980. There is a woman named Sybil Trelawney, and she is like the daughter or granddaughter of this very famous, they call them seers. They're basically psychics, is what they are. And sometimes they can control it, they can focus it, and other times you just get prophecies and they pop out of nowhere. You go into a trance and you have no idea what you just said. She's that. But she's applying for a position with Hogwarts to be what they call essentially like reading tea leaves or premonitions. They call it divination. You're divining what something is supposed to mean.
Makes sense.
So she's going out for this position. Dumbledore goes and meets with her, and they're meeting in Hogsmeade. And his brother actually runs the bar in town called the Hogshead Bar. It's
That's
like
awesome.
There's the nice one called the Three Broomsticks, which is like where the students are allowed to go for a nice butter beer. But like the Hogshead is where like the adults go. So they're Dumbledore is doing the interview upstairs in like a bedroom, and he's like, you know what, I took the meeting because your great grandmother was really talented and everything like that. This woman really doesn't have the gift, but during this meeting, she just goes into a trance, and she starts spitting out this premonition that the one to vanquish, the one with the power to vanquish the Dark Lord will be born as the 7th month dies. He'll be born to someone who has thrice defied him, and he'll be born with a power that the Dark Lord knows not. Neither can survive while the other lives, and basically just says this person will have to kill it. One of them has to kill each other.
So this child has to defy Voldemort 3 times, or the mother does?
Born to parents who have thrice defied Voldemort. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So she snaps out of this trance and is just basically goes back to her conversation, everything like that. And Dumbledore's sitting there like, yeah. And there's like a knock at the door, and his brother comes in, and he's got Snape with him. Apparently Snape was listening in to part of the conversation. And it's not like Snape is like, hey, I'm a Death Eater, but like Dumbledore kind of has a peg on who's with this guy. He's in the know. And so Dumbledore's brother tosses him out. He gets like half of the prophecy about this kid being born the end of July. Doesn't hear the thing about like he has a magic that he doesn't or anything like that, but he knows that it's parents that thrice defied him and when he's going to be born. So Snape goes and immediately he's trying to ingratiate himself. He goes to Voldemort and he's like, hey, this is just what I heard. Dumbledore was actually in the room and everything. This is directly concerning you and someone that's going to defeat you. Prophecies aren't taken lightly. So Voldemort's like, well, shit, now I got to find out who this kid is and I got to murder this kid. So the friends that James came out of school with, there was a group of 5 of them that they all formed together, and they created this group called the Marauders. One of their friends, his name was Remus Lupin. And as a child, he got bit by a werewolf.
A childhood injury?
Some childhood trauma shit. A lot of parents getting murdered, kids getting attacked by werewolves. This is what this history is about. It was in retaliation because his father had actually said something like, or did something to try to like restrict the werewolf community or something like that. So this kid's like, I'm never going to be able to go to Hogwarts. I can't lead a normal life. Every moon I have to be shackled up and everything.
Oh, because he turns it. Okay.
Yep.
That makes sense why he can't go.
Even from a young age and everything. It's something he's got to deal with. And this is before there was a development of this potion called the Wolfsbane potion that actually would suppress it if you took it around the time of a full moon. This wasn't a thing.
It's like Valtrex.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. In its own way. Yeah. So that prevents something, Valtrex actually, flare-ups. So this was at a time when Dumbledore wasn't the headmaster. As soon as Dumbledore got into being headmaster, he actually approached this kid when he was 11. He's like, we can figure something out. Like, we'll make sure that this isn't an issue. You're not going to be turned away. So there's this dilapidated house called the Shrieking Shack in Hogsmeade, and no one goes to it. They think it's haunted. What they determined is that we're going to take a secret tunnel, and once a month, we'll ferry you out of Hogwarts where no one can see you. There'll be restraints and everything. You'll be in this house during your transformation. And then when you are done, walk back down the tunnel, walk back into the school, good to go. And so this goes on for a little while. All of a sudden, James and his other friend, Sirius, and then they had another friend that was this little kind of like shorter kid that kind of always hung around with them named Peter. And they decide to kind of find out what's going on with Lupin. They find out he's a werewolf. So he's like, oh shit, these guys aren't going to be my friends anymore. And he's like, no, man. He's like, we're actually going to try to figure something out to where we can actually help you through this. So they spend this huge chunk of time during their time at Hogwarts. There's certain wizards that can transform themselves into animals. They're called animagus. And one of Harry's professors during his time frame, they're like the woman that's like the deputy headmistress. She's actually one. She can transform into a cat. There's a specific animal you turn into. It's not like all animals.
What's her name?
McGonagall.
Okay.
Minerva
yes.
McGonagall. Yeah. So throughout their time, this isn't something normal kids learn how to do. They learn how to actually transform into these animals by about like their 5th year. James turns into a stag, deer with the big old antlers. Sirius turns into like this big black, almost like wolf, like hound. Mm-hmm. Peter ends up fucking turning into a rat.
Nice.
And because werewolves aren't hostile toward animals, it's just people, they end up being able to transform around him when he's a werewolf. And because it's a big deer and a fucking big dog, they can kind of keep him in check a little bit. And they get to help their friend through this whole thing. They form this group. They call themselves the Marauders. They're pretty talented, but they're like sneaky about shit. Like they're clever. They designed this map of Hogwarts called the Marauders map. Fred and George, Ron's brothers, get a hold of it during like, they steal it from basically he's like the, not the groundskeeper, but he's almost like the head janitor. They steal it from his office and they figure out how to use it. And it basically gives you an entire map of Hogwarts and where people are moving around. So you can use it to sneak. They use it to be able to find passages out of the castle and like get up to all these types of like, all these like hijinks and stuff.
Sneaky gingers.
They give it to Harry. They're like, you need this more than us because you need to be able to get out of the castle. So he gets like another artifact of his father. But going back to the Marauders. Once they are at a school, Peter is the kind that kind of gravitates toward people who can protect him and everything. He ends up falling in with Voldemort, but they don't know it yet. He ends up turning traitor and starts feeding Voldemort information from within the Order of the Phoenix because he's technically a member of it. Mm-hmm. After this prophecy comes out, Dumbledore's like, okay, well, I know it's going to be parents. I know it's going to be people that have defied him thrice. And he's like, it's the Potters, it's the Longbottoms, and he's going through his list of people in his little force, and he's like, it can be these people. So he's like, we're going to protect you guys. We're going to hide you guys. There's certain enchantments you can do where you can hide someone's location and trust one person to know where it's at. If they know where it's at and they tell someone, that magic is broken and like he knows where they're at. So they're like, well, Sirius is, my best friend. I'm going to go ahead. Lily's like, yeah, let's definitely make him. They call it the Secret Keeper. So Sirius is like, actually, if they're coming after you, I'm the natural person that they're going to try to capture and torture. Yeah. And Voldemort is really good at getting into people's minds and reading their thoughts. I don't want to be the reason that you guys are found and killed. Don't make it the obvious choice. Make it Peter. No one is going to suspect that Peter is actually going to have this information. And they're like, okay, if you think that that's the best course, he's like, they'll come after me as the first person. They'll never suspect that you trust something to this guy. Yeah. He finds this and is made the Secret Keeper. Basically tells Voldemort that, this is where the Potters are going to be. And so, and July comes around. July 30th, Neville Longbottom is born. July 31st, Harry's born. It can be one of two families. So Voldemort now knows that it's either the Potters or the Longbottoms. He decides on the Potters, which is weird because he has this whole thing about purebloods being more powerful. Yeah. The Longbottoms are a pureblood family. He chooses the family that has the child that's a half-blood like he is because he views that as more of the threat. So in 81, so Harry's born July of 80. In 81 in September, that's when Sirius convinces them to transfer over the Secret Keeper to Peter. He immediately goes to Voldemort, and on October 31st, Voldemort knows where they're at. It's not like there's a ton of like armed, they're a small little force and everything.
Marauders.
Yeah. They don't have guards from the Ministry of Magic. The Ministry of Magic is kind of inept at this point. They're trying to downplay the threat of Voldemort, make people feel safe and secure, but they're doing more harm than good because people aren't on the lookout. They're not on high alert. So he goes into the Potter's house. They're at home. They don't have their fucking wand. The wand sitting on the nightstand or in the bed or something like that. He breaks in. James is like, it's him. Grab Harry, run. Tries to defend him. Doesn't have any way to do it. Voldemort kills him right then and there. Voldemort works his way upstairs. Lily can't get out of the house. She tries to barricade herself in the room with Harry. He blows the door down. She puts Harry behind her in the crib and gets in front of her. Voldemort kills her. As he's getting ready to kill Harry, he tries to do the same thing he did to his parents. And there's a killing curse, a very specific one. It's Avada Kedavra. It's one of the 3 unforgivables. That one, there's one that's called the Cruciatus Curse. That is a torture curse that basically makes the person feel the maximum amount of physical pain that they can. And then there's the Imperious Curse, which puts someone under your control. You get to tell them whatever to do. They act as if they are not being controlled. So you can send in like sleeper agents and stuff like that into like the ministry and everything. So goes to cast the curse on Harry, hits Harry, rebounds off him and hits Voldemort and destroys his body. Now, this was during 2 murders that he just did.
Yeah.
That soul had split a little bit. And as it split, the only thing that was living in the room that it could try to attach itself to was Harry. So this little piece of Voldemort's soul attaches itself to Harry, and that's why he has the little lightning bolt scar.
So his lightning bolt is a Horcrux?
It's the mark of a curse, but no one has ever survived this curse. So no one knows what the result would be. So everyone's assumption is that's the result. That's all it caused him was this little mark.
Huh.
So as he's destroyed, all of a sudden, they find out that something's going down. Sirius ends up trying to get to the house as quickly as possible. Voldemort's nowhere to be found. He gets turned into a spirit because his spirit is still, his soul is still tethered.
Horcrux is
and
still
he's like,
tethering him.
Yeah, he's like, and just floats away. He knows he's just been destroyed. He doesn't know how. He doesn't know why. He just knows he has to get out of there. So he ends up fleeing. Sirius shows up. The house is part of it's blown apart. He goes up there, sees 2 best friends dead, sees Harry there, grabs Harry, and as he's running out, he ends up running into Hagrid, who Dumbledore had sent there to try to find out what happened to get Harry and bring him back. Sirius is like, I got to try to hunt this guy. I got to try to find him. I don't know. They don't know that he just died. He's like, Sirius like, I'm going after him. He's like, take my motorcycle. He has this flying motorcycle with a sidecar, tells Hagrid, he's like, take the motorcycle, take Harry, get him to safety.
Doesn't he have that throughout the books?
Yeah. That's who he got it from. He got it from Sirius. Like the very first scene where Hagrid comes in on the flying motorcycle, that is him literally coming from the destroyed house in Harry's parents' murder, flying him down to get Harry to Dumbledore. So it's happening all concurrently. Essentially, they determined Voldemort's been destroyed. Like the Wizarding world is like, oh my God, the nightmare's over, the war's over. All they know is that Harry Potter is the boy who lived. They don't know how. They know that Voldemort went in there, Lily and James died, Harry survived, Voldemort's destroyed. He's literally the most famous, everyone knows his name.
So what happens to the Death Eaters? Do they know that Voldemort's gone? Or
So Peter Pettigrew, when he's an animal, his name is Wormtail because he's a rat. So Peter ends up going to the house because he was like, I told Voldemort to go there. He ends up kind of showing up. No one's there, but he's actually able to grab Voldemort's wand and take it because Sirius isn't looking around for the wand. He grabbed Harry. He got out of there. Hagrid's not hanging around. No one else has showed up to the house yet. He ends up getting tracked down by Sirius. Sirius is like, the only way that Voldemort would have known they were here is if Peter would have told him. And so he ends up hunting down Peter, and I think it was in November of that same year. So it doesn't take him long. It's literally within a few days, maybe a week. He tracks him down and he's getting ready to kill him or either apprehend him to take him in. And Peter casts this curse that basically they're surrounded by normal people. They're in a town and everything. So they can't really be overt about doing this. Peter pulls out his wand and casts this curse that basically causes a blast in the area and kills like 12 of these non-magical folks. Before he does it, he cuts off a finger. And as he casts this thing, he transforms himself into his rat form and escapes. So when all of a sudden this becomes known, like Sirius is fucking livid that this has happened. He now doesn't know what all these dead people around the Aura show up and assume that Sirius actually was the one that did this. They also assume, because they didn't know about the change, no one but Dumbledore knew about the change of the secret keeper thing, because he's the one that kind of did the transfer. Everyone thought that because he was James' best friend, he would have been the secret keeper. He was the one that sold out to Voldemort, and that he killed Peter in revenge because Peter was trying to like save the Potters or something like that. So Sirius ends up getting arrested and sent to Azkaban for life without trial.
All right.
And Peter Pettigrew is awarded like the Order of Merlin's second class as like a how do you say it? Posthumously like awarded it. So to everybody, known loyalist and mass, Muggle murderer Sirius Black has been arrested and sent to Azkaban. Everyone thinks that he's the one that sold out the Potters. He's a completely hated figure now. Pettigrew works himself in with the Weasley family as a pet. And
a rat?
I mean, kids you can only bring certain pets to Hogwarts. Like you can either have an owl, I think it's a frog, a cat, or maybe a rat. Like there's limitations on it. So goes as a rat and becomes a pet to one of the kids. I think he just kind of hung out around the house. They found a rat. He was friendly. And so they brought him in. There's basically this like fucking 40-year-old, or no, he wouldn't have been 40 at that time. They would have been younger. This 20-year-old guy that's now living as this child's rat. And it was Ron's older brother that had him as a pet first. He also does this because it's a all magical family. The father works for the Ministry of Magic. He's trying to keep his ear out that if any word of Voldemort comes up, Arthur Weasley, the dad, is going to hear about it, talk about it around the house. He can go try to find his master because he has his wand. He can't make himself known because then everyone will know that he was the one that did it. He'll be, this is his only option at this point. Also in, I think it was December of that year, so Voldemort still has his Death Eaters. Some of them basically, as soon as he's destroyed, the ones that weren't really well known just kind of back up and no one's the wiser about it. There were ones that were hardcore that people knew were Death Eaters that had actually been caught perpetrating this kind of stuff. One of them was the husband and wife, the last name was Strange. They captured the Longbottoms basically because they knew that it was either the Potters or the Longbottoms. Harry survived. We're going to take out this other kid. They capture Neville's parents and do the Cruciatus Curse and torture them into insanity. So at that point, they're then sent to that St. Mungo's hospital into the psychiatric ward. They never recover. And Neville is sent to live with his grandma and be raised by his grandmother.
Wild.
So let's fast forward to 1991. This is when Harry, after living with the Dursleys for his entire life,
being mistreated and all that
stuff, the Dursleys.
Such a bad name.
Vernon, Petunia, and then Dudley, their little shithead son.
Yeah.
So he's living, in the cupboard underneath the stairs. He doesn't get his own room or anything like that, but he does get on his 11th birthday. All of a sudden, right before that, he starts getting letters to Hogwarts. They're being delivered by owls. When Hagrid rode the motorcycle in to give him to Dumbledore, it was their street that he landed on. The reason that Dumbledore had to leave him with them is because there is a type of like ancient family magic that his mother, when she had stepped in front and everything and took trying to protect him, it cast kind of this like protective magic or enchantment that's almost like an uncontrollable, like elemental form of magic. And so he would maintain that as long as he was living with someone who shared her blood. So as they're dropping him off and getting ready to leave the baby on the doorstep, the Professor McGonagall is there with Dumbledore, and she's like, I've been watching these people all day. They suck. They're literally the most like the opposite end of being okay with this kind of stuff.
Muggly as muggles there are.
They knew about magic because her sister was Lily. They hated it though. And so Harry's sitting here as the representation of the magic that they hate and everything. She has to accept him because it's her nephew and everything. But the only reason he leaves him there is because he has to have that protection up until a certain point. So he gets his letter to Hogwarts, They try to keep it from him. Hagrid ends up busting down the door of a vacation home that they're in and is basically like, guess what, Harry, you're a wizard.
You're coming with me, Harry.
He's like, fuck yeah, strange, large, bearded man. Like, these people suck. Like, I'm willing to... He brought him a cake that said happy birthday. So he's like, you've already
enough for me.
Yeah, exactly.
The Dursleys didn't get me a cake.
And then he tells me, he's like, you're a wizard, Harry. And he's like, no shit. So takes him, introduces him to the whole wizarding world. Harry goes through his first couple years of school. And during this time frame, because, you know, it's been 9 years, Voldemort flees. He doesn't know how he's going to reconstitute himself. He's waiting for some of his followers to try to find him. He can't use a fucking wand. He's a spirit. So he needs followers in order to perform the magic that's going to give him his body back. The only one that's ever even looking for him remotely is Peter, the rat. And so he ends up going to this forest in Albania where he found that diadem. And he's hanging out there. Through a series of events, he ends up coming into contact with a Hogwarts professor that's on holiday. The guy is actually the teacher of Defense Against the Dark Arts, but he's very susceptible and gullible.
Is he the one with the weird eye?
No, that's Mad Eye Moody. He's like an XR. This is the dude that wears like the head wrap and everything and kind of has the stutter in the first movie.
Yes.
So he ends up possessing him and convincing him to help him regain power. So he brings him back into the wizarding world. He's riding as a hitchhiker in his body, basically. He's like, there's something that can help us out here. The Philosopher's Sorcerer's Stone, whatever you want to call it. It does that elixir of life. That'll actually be a key component that'll get me back and up and going into a body and everything in no time. But it's hiding in Gringotts. So they try to break into Gringotts. But 2 days before, that's when Hagrid had brought Harry to Diagon Alley to like get his school supplies and do all that kind of stuff. Dumbledore had sent him with a mission too, that when they were at Gringotts pulling money out of Harry's parents' account, now Harry's account, he's like, I need to go down to this other vault. And he picks up this nondescript little package. Harry's like, what's that? He's like, don't worry about it. It's Dumbledore business. He gets it out of there and takes it to Hogwarts. So like 2 days later, this guy, Professor Quirrell / Voldemort, breaks in, finds it's not there, and then they end up escaping. Quirrell ends up going to Hogwarts to teach for the year. And for the first year is basically just like Harry's right there.
He's Defense Against the Dark Arts?
Yeah.
And they're the ones that had the curse that Voldemort had put on them.
Correct. I think this is his first year, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to skip ahead. Anyone who's seen the movies, read the books. Basically, Harry's first year, he defeats the Quirrell Voldemort guy and everything like that, because Voldemort's not very powerful. And in his second year, that's going to be the Chamber of Secrets. That involves where the diary that was the first Horcrux that
Tom
he made.
Riddle's diary.
It was trusted to one of his Death Eaters. He's like, take this, hide it, protect it. You don't need to know what it is, but keep it safe or I'll fucking murder you and your family. Yeah. He's like, of course, my lord. So he's trying to, I don't know if he ever tells him, he's like, this is the key to reopening the Chamber of Secrets. So after Voldemort's gone, it's been years, they bump into the Weasleys doing their back to school shopping and everything. And he slips the diary into the daughter's like school books. She takes it with her to school. And through her opening this diary, there's nothing written in it. So she's like, oh shit, I'm going to use this as my diary. Ginny Weasley.
Okay.
Ron's, this is her first year at Hogwarts. So she's writing it and all of a sudden this thing starts writing back to her. And as they're communicating, it starts to kind of drain her of some power and starts to then be able to overtake her a little bit, enough so to where it uses her via possession to open the Chamber of Secrets and release this basilisk in the school. People will get petrified. No one's been killed yet, but the school is being threatened to get shut down, just like it was back when Tom Riddle was in school. Harry ends up, of course, saving the day. He goes down into the Chamber of Secrets because he can open it because the fragment of Voldemort that's inside him allows him to speak to snakes. This also causes Harry to be suspected of being evil or having some ties to it. No one knows that there's a piece of his soul inside. No one even knows Voldemort made these Horcruxes or anything like that. The guy that slipped the book in there, no fucking clue. He just thought it was some type of instruction manual or something to open this thing. So Harry and Ron are able to go down there, rescue his sister, who at that point, the diary is draining enough of her life. If it gets all of her life, it will then manifest itself in the version of Tom Riddle Voldemort in which he had created the Horcrux. So as Harry goes down there, he comes face to face with this 15-year-old Tom Riddle, not knowing any idea of who he is. through them talking back and forth, he's like, how did you do it? He's like, how did I do what? He's like, how did you survive? Like, you were a baby against like the most powerful, like dark wizard that ever exists. He's like, why do you care about this? He's like, and he turns around and this is where you see the name anagram happen. He flips it and Harry's like, oh, fuck me. And so he sends the basilisk to kill Harry. Series of events happens. Harry pulls a sword out of the sorting hat. The phoenix comes down, scratches the thing's eyes out. Harry kills it. He gets like bit by it. So Harry's getting ready to die. Ginny's life force is still getting sucked out. 15-year-old Tom Riddle is like, haha, I fucking win. And then Harry pulls the fang out of his arm and stabs the diary. And it fucking destroys the bit of his soul and destroys the physical embodiment of Voldemort at that point.
Destroyed the Horcrux.
Yes, exactly. Didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
No clue. Just knew that it was coming from the diary. He stabbed the diary. It killed it. Weirdly enough, one of the only things that can destroy a Horcrux, just coincidentally, is basilisk venom.
This is Hercules type shit.
It is, exactly. Certain things can destroy certain other things.
So how does Harry survive?
So the phoenix that was down there helping him, the tears have healing properties. It gets down on him, it kind of rubs its face on him, the wound heals up, and he's like, oh, fuck, thanks.
Okay.
So third year rolls around. This is where Sirius Black actually breaks out of Azkaban. He breaks out of Azkaban because somehow newspapers are able to make their way. The guards are reading them and everything like that, but sometimes they get blown in. And so he is able to gather this month-old newspaper, and it has a picture on the front. Through the ministry, Ron's dad had won a trip to Egypt because there's a whole bunch of magical shit in Egypt with the pyramids and everything like that. So they take a family trip down there. There's a picture like ministry sponsors family on trip or whatever. And there's the fucking rat is now Ron's pet, and it's fucking hanging on his shoulder. And it has some distinguishing features. It's got these tufts on its hair, and it's missing one of its fucking fingers.
The one that he cut off.
Sirius sees this, and he's like, motherfucker. And so I just thought of it now. People listening to this are going to search, if they're just searching for the history of Harry Potter, and they're going to be listening, and they're just going to hear this. This guy swears a lot talking about Harry Potter. That's what we do. But anyway, Sirius is able to kind of keep his sanity despite being in here for years. I mean, at this point, he ends up getting arrested in November of 81. We're all the way up to like 93. And
bad prison.
And usually it drives people crazy. Unless you're already crazy, like the Death Eaters that are locked in there, then at that point, you're just getting a little bit crazier. Now, kind of like we talked about, some of them assimilated back into society. Some families are just like, people are like, we know you fucking supported this guy. And they're like, what? Us? No, we were tricked into it. You know, he mind controlled people. Some of them were like, oh no, we weren't mind controlled. Like, we were trying to kill you all. And those people get sent to Azkaban.
Okay.
So Sirius, because he's able to transform into a dog, the Dementors only feed on human emotions. He can transform himself and get like a reprieve from that feeling of just oppression and depression and everything like that. So it's able to help him keep a little bit of his sanity, but he's still fucking crazy. He breaks out after seeing this picture and goes on the hunt for this. He's like, this guy's still fucking, I knew this guy was. He breaks out, and the first thing he does is he goes to try to keep an eye on Harry. He wants to make sure he's safe.
That was his job before.
Yep. So Harry sees this fucking dog, and he thinks like, this thing's trying to kill me and everything. So there's this, they know he broke out. There's all these wanted posters out and everything like that. Through the series of events of the movie, it's all about people thinking that Sirius is coming to Hogwarts to kill Harry to finish Voldemort's job and then try to find Voldemort and try to bring him back to power or whatnot. And it turns out that you find out that he is able to infiltrate Hogwarts because of his knowledge of all the tunnels when he was the Marauder and everything. The Shrieking Shack, he can go under. He breaks into Hogwarts several times and tries to kill the rat, but they think he's trying to kill Harry. So,
because the rat is there with Ron.
Yep.
Gotcha.
This is also the year that Dumbledore asks Remus Lupin, the one that was the werewolf that no one knows is a werewolf, hey, I need you to come fill in for Professor against the Dark Arts. And Lupin's like, hasn't everybody either died or like, he's like, sorry, man. He's like, I need you to do it. And he's like, I can't find work as a werewolf. So yeah, I'm going to kind of have to do this. So you have Sirius's godson going to school. You have one of his best friends there. At this point, Snape, after he found out that Voldemort was going to kill the Potters, he defected. So back before the war ended, before, that night of the 31st, back in 81, he went to Dumbledore and he's like, I'll tell you anything you want to know. Save them. They're going after them. And he's like, they have a secret keeper. It's fine, but I will make sure they're protected if you turn double agent for me and spy on Voldemort. So he does, trying to protect Lily.
Yeah.
They still end up dying. He goes and he's like, it didn't work. You didn't protect them. He's like, their son is still alive. He's like, I don't
Not
really
because
care.
of you.
And he's like, and I don't really fucking care about the kid. He's like, she was my interest in everything. And he's like, you think that her last wish wouldn't be for someone to look after a kid? And he's like, he's like, I hate this kid because I hated his father, but I'm not going to do anything to hurt this kid. So throughout the series, you always think that he hates him and everything like that. He doesn't like him, but he's willing to go ahead and try to protect him. He thinks that because Sirius broke out and Lupin is his friend, he's like, this guy is trying to fucking kill Harry and everything. So through the series of events, getting to it, they find out that Sirius ends up capturing Ron with the rat. Harry and Hermione go and follow him. They follow him into like that shrieking shack and everything through the tunnels, and they think that Sirius is there to kill Harry. He's fucking crazy, and he's like, no, he's like, I'm not. And Lupin comes in, and all of a sudden, like, he looks at him, and Lupin knew that Sirius wasn't the traitor. He knew that it was Peter. And all of a sudden, like, they're sitting there, they don't know the rat's Peter, and he's like, that's your rat, that's Peter. This is the first time Harry's really hearing a lot about Peter. He heard that Sirius had killed him, and he's like, no, you killed him. He's like, no, that's him. Lupin is like, put the rat down, we'll show you. And they transform him into this fucking 45-year-old dude that's been living as a rat his whole life and everything. And Harry's just like, what the shit? And Ron's like, I've had that thing in my fucking room sleeping with me.
You watched me change.
Yes, many times. I'm sure he didn't get to the experimentation part with his pets, but at the same time, like, yeah. And so all of a sudden it clicks for Harry, and he's like, this is the guy that fucking sold out my parents. And they're like, yeah. And he's like, seriously, like, it's okay. Me and Lupin are going to kill him right now. And he's like, no. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, my dad wouldn't want that. And this guy's the only way for you to prove your innocence. And he's like, we're my dad's best friend. Like you're you're one of the only ties back to my family. And so they're trying to escort him back up to the grounds to turn him in and everything, clear Sirius's name. And as they're talking, he's like, your parents made me your godfather. He's like, I didn't know that. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, after this whole thing's done, he's like, I don't know if you're probably happy with your aunt and uncle and everything. He's like, but if you ever wanted like another place to stay or anything, he's like, fuck yes. He's like, you're willing to go ahead and do this and I can live with you and you're my godfather and everything. All of a sudden, Lupin turns into a werewolf. He didn't take his serum. It throws off this whole series of events. Peter escapes. Sirius is still suspected as the murderer, but they help him escape. So now he's on the run, but everyone that counts knows that he's actually innocent. Dumbledore knew he was innocent and all this kind of shit. So
Harry lost his summer home.
Yeah. Yeah. He still gets to communicate and everything like that, can write letters, but he had this life put in front of him, then it pretty much just gets ripped away. 94 rolls around, and there's this thing called the Triwizard Tournament. And this is basically the largest schools in Europe, Durmstrang, Beauxbatons. They kind of change sites, but it hasn't happened in, I think, 600 years because too many contestants were dying, and students are the ones that are competing in this thing. So this is the first time they're doing it. Hogwarts is going to host it. The other schools show up. You have to be, I want to say, you might have to be 16 or 17 to compete. So all these students from all these houses are dropping their names in. One representative from each school is going to be chosen. And through some machinations of Voldemort at this point, who's kind of growing back in power, after Pettigrew left, he was actually able to go and find Voldemort and start to help him try to get his body back. Yeah.
That's bad.
So Harry's name ends up popping out of this like magical relic that they use to select name. Everyone drops their name in it that's eligible. Mm-hmm. Harry shouldn't even be able to drop his name in it. He shouldn't even be able to get past this protective line that's between him and this like goblet that they're dropping it into. His name pops out of it in front of the whole school. He has to compete. So now there's two people from Hogwarts, a person from Durmstrang, and a person from Beauxbatons.
Who's the other one from Hogwarts?
His name is Cedric Diggory. He's a Hufflepuff. 7th year.
Okay.
So cool dude, chill dude, everything. Everyone at school likes him. And so they go through all these competitions. Harry has, help from his friends to try to do, pass this stuff. When it comes down to the last task, there's 3 of them. There is a professor that gets brought in for that year to teach Defense Against Dark Arts, and it's the dude you're thinking of with the weird eye, Mad Eye Moody. He was an XR, Dumbledore trusts him and everything. He comes in and he's kind of helping Harry along with these tasks and everything.
He knows he's going to die in a year, probably.
Yeah, pretty much. The last task ends up being this insanely huge maze that has all these different challenges that test all their magical skills. And at the center of it is this trophy. It's this giant cup that glows blue. And so getting through this maze, it comes to where Cedric and Harry are making a dash for it next to each other. They're pushing each other, shoving each other. All of a sudden, the maze reaches out with these branches and grabs Cedric and drags him down. And Harry's like, shit, turns around, helps him up. They get to it at the same time. Cedric is like, grab it. You would have had it. I would have got taken back there. And he's like, at the same time, for Hogwarts, they grab it and they get sucked through this like portal. So there's these things called port keys. It's how they travel long distances, and you can have a bunch of people travel. It goes off at a certain time. You all surround around it. You all touch it, and it transports you. They didn't know that this was going to be what it was.
Voldemort set up, right?
Yep. They're all of a sudden in this graveyard. Nothing looks familiar around them. And they're looking at it and they're like, was this part of the chat? Is this like a new part of the maze or something? Are we supposed to do? And all of a sudden, when Voldemort has been close to Harry, that soul fragment gives them an almost kind of like psychic connection a little bit. And all of a sudden, Harry's head just starts fucking splitting.
Doesn't it glow too?
In the books it might. I can't remember exactly. But all of a sudden that starts happening. He's like, Cedric, get out of here. And all of a sudden you see Cedric, you see someone walking out of like a crypt, and you hear kill despair. And Wormtail uses Voldemort's wand and kills Cedric, like on the spot. Huh? Oh, Peter. Oh, the rat. The guy that had helped Voldemort. Yep. Captures Harry. And there's this ritual that can be done where you need the bone of the father, you need blood of the enemy, and then flesh of the servant. And so he chooses, he's like, well, I'm back in the hometown that I murdered my father in because this is where their graves are. So I'm going to take the bone out of my father's grave. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take Harry's blood because then he won't have whatever ancient protection. I'll have that too, and I'll be able to fight him or kill him. And then has Peter cut off his hand and use the hand as the servant. Sure. Voldemort ends up being reborn. He summons, there's Death Eaters all have a tattoo. It's called the Dark Mark. It's basically a skull with a snake coming out of the mouth. If Voldemort wants to call his followers to him, he activates it on one of his other followers, and they all know where he's at. He activates it on Peter, and a bunch of these Death Eaters show up. And some of them were Death Eaters that had, of course, they weren't in Azkaban, so they had kind of said like they were under control. They'd assimilated back into society. He's not happy with them, but he's like, I need my followers. And he's like, and now you're going to watch me kill Harry Potter to prove once and for all that it was blind luck that he survived. Mm-hmm. Him and Harry, he makes Harry duel him, and Harry tries to disarm him, and Voldemort goes to kill him. Their wands, coincidentally enough, because I think of the soul fragment, they share some stuff. Their wands have the same core. So a magical wand, like we have right here, is made out of a certain type of wood. Yeah. It has a certain flexibility. It's a certain length, but the inside of it is what's magical. So it could have certain things like unicorn hair. It could have dragon heartstring. Harry and Voldemort's wands are the only ones that have a phoenix feather. And it's from a very specific phoenix. It happens to be, I think, from Dumbledore's phoenix. When wands that share the same core, that are like brother wands, battle against each other, weird shit happens. It hits each other, and instead of it rebounding and killing Harry or anything like that, it creates essentially this effect where it starts having Voldemort cast his spells in reverse, or showing the history of what he did. It's called prior incantatum, prior incantation. Mm-hmm. And as this is happening, like, it forms this weird bubble around him. None of the Death Eaters can get in, and Voldemort is like, do nothing. He's like, this is mine. I got this. No one step in. If one of you steps in, then I'm not as powerful, and you guys aren't going to think this. So all of a sudden, these things start popping out of Voldemort's wand, and it's the spirits of like the last 5 people that he's killed with the wand. Ooh. Cedric, dude that was the caretaker of his father's old house that he had murdered.
The Albanian.
And then all of a sudden 2 other people pop out, and it's Harry's mom and dad.
Oh.
And it's like their essence. And so they're talking to him, and it's like, we can protect you. We can distract him for a second. You need to get out of here. And so Cedric's spirit is like, try to take my body back to my dad if you can. So he's like, break the connection. Harry breaks the connection. And as that happens, they all rush Voldemort and kind of distract him. Harry runs over, grabs Cedric's body, and then like magically pulls the trophy toward him. And as soon as he hits it, it transports them back.
Key.
Yep. He transports them, and they land right in the middle of where they had started the maze, where like the grandstands are. So Harry pops down with a dead body and he's freaking out. All of a sudden, one of the fans is like screaming because she notices that he's dead. The teachers rush out. Dumbledore rushes out. He's like, what happened? Harry's like, he's back. Voldemort's back. I saw him. The Minister for Magic is there, and he's like, what the hell is he talking about, Dumbledore? Dumbledore's like, I kind of knew this might, not this, but I knew he was trying to come back, so I believe you. And he's like, get Harry to the castle. And he looks at the Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher. He's like, get him back to the castle, make sure he's safe. The Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher is not the actual guy he thinks it is. It's a Death Eater that was loyal to Voldemort that had actually been, there's a potion called Polyjuice. You have to have a hair or something from the person, but you drink it and it turns you into the exact replica, voice, all that stuff. He's been keeping, that Death Eater has been keeping Moody alive to be able to read his mind and get information so he can make a more believable performance as Mad Eye. So he gets him up. He is basically like, is he back? And Harry's like, yeah. And he's like, how many people were at the graveyard? And he's like, I didn't tell you anything about a graveyard. And he goes, he's like, when I kill you, he's going to reward me, above all his other followers. So he's getting ready to kill Harry. And I think Dumbledore busts in and saves him. So they know Voldemort's back. The Ministry basically goes the exact opposite direction. Is like, they're fucking lying. They're just doing this for attention.
No way.
He can't be back. No one saw it, but how did Cedric die? It was a horrible accident that happened in the maze. Like, this is the first time that students have died during this thing. So during this time too, because Voldemort is like, shit, how many Horcruxes did I make? It's like, I've only made 5 at this point. He didn't know he made one out of Harry because he got destroyed. So he has this giant fucking pet snake. And he's like, I'm going to turn this bitch into a Horcrux. So he ends up turning it in. To his knowledge, it's the piece in his body and 6 other ones. Mm-hmm. It's actually 8 because of the piece that's residing in Harry. So Dumbledore starts to kind of suspect that there's something going on about how he was able to survive. He's like, what's the only way that he could have survived this curse if he was still tethered essentially to this world by a piece of his soul or whatever? After Voldemort comes out, Dumbledore reforms the Order of the Phoenix, pulls in some people that he can, like Sirius, the Weasleys, things like that, kind of starts the Second Wizarding War.
Is 4th book was the one where Harry fancies himself the Asian girl, right?
Good old Cho Chang.
Is that
Cho Chang?
That was her name?
Yeah.
Holy shit!
I know. You also have the token Irish kid, Seamus O'Finnegan, and then you have Dean Thomas, who is like one of the only like black kids in Gryffindor and everything. So. Yeah, there's a little bit of naming stereotypes in regards to this.
Oh, you look at the writer.
Yeah. So the next year is basically a smear campaign against Harry and Dumbledore. And they're trying to Voldemort is trying to figure out what this other part of the prophecy was. He's like, I didn't hear the whole thing. It's got to have something to do with why I can't kill this kid. All prophecies are stored in these little crystal balls in the Ministry of Magic in a place called like the Department of Mysteries or something like that. He's trying to put all these ministry people under like mind control curses, have them go in there. He gets one guy in and he's like, grab the thing and bring it to me so I can read what it says. And finds out that guy ends up touching it and ends up in the hospital because only people that it's about can remove it and actually hear what it is. So he figures out, oh shit, I have this psychic connection with Harry. I could put thoughts into his head. Makes it seem like he kidnapped Sirius and is holding him there. Harry's like, I gotta go save my uncle, my godfather or whatever. gathers some of the students together, and they're like, we're going with you. They go to the Ministry of Magic. They go into the Department of Mysteries. Harry sees the thing that has his name on it. Doesn't know there's a prophecy. Yeah. They just know it's this department that has all these prophecies. And one of the kids is like, Harry, this one has your name on it. And out of curiosity, he lifts it down. He listens to it. And as he's listening to it, they get surrounded by Death Eaters. They have this big battle. The Order of the Phoenix ends up showing up and fighting. Sirius gets killed.
Oh, no.
And Harry, as the Order of the Phoenix is kind of mopping things up and kind of getting the Death Eaters under control, the one that killed Sirius takes off. It was the same woman who had tortured the Longbottoms to insanity. He chases after her. He's like, I'm going to fucking kill this bitch. And so as she's running, he launches one of the unforgivable curses at her, the torture one. It knocks her down, but it doesn't torture her because you have to mean it. And like Harry, kind of being more of a moral person, can't cast it correctly.
Gotcha.
But as he's standing over her, he's getting ready to try again. And Voldemort shows up. He's like, you're by yourself. And all of a sudden, so they travel through this thing. I keep bouncing off stuff. One of their modes of transportation into the Ministry of Magic is called the Flue Network. It is a series of fireplaces. All Wizarding families have them in their home. There's this powder they can throw into the fire and it turns the flames green. They can say where they want to go. They step into it and it transports them there. So you can do that with like underage wizards and everything.
Okay.
But this is also how people that are trying to get into the Ministry of Magic from up on the street, getting there for work, they can just pop in without having to basically have this large group of people flooding into this area where it's a dilapidated warehouse to everybody else. Mm-hmm. So as Voldemort's getting ready to kill him, Dumbledore shows up. And they get into this huge battle and everything. Voldemort basically has to leave. He has to flee because he's not going to be able to beat Dumbledore. And if he stays there too long, people are going to start showing up. He waits about 15 seconds too long. And all of a sudden, because there's been this alert and this alarm going off at the Ministry of Magic, the minister shows up and a bunch of other people and see him at the last second before he disappears. So now all of a sudden...
Proof.
Yeah, but at the same time, they've spent the last year basically being like, this isn't happening, lying to the whole community. And it basically vindicates Harry and Dumbledore. Mm-hmm. And the minister is just like, everyone's like, get the fuck out of office. So he ends up getting replaced the next year by the head of the Auror department, this dude named Rufus Scrimgeour, who's just like this battle-hardened guy. He just like takes no bullshit and everything. And this is where it officially kicks off with the acknowledgement by the entire community. Voldemort's back. He's like, I don't have to hide anymore. People know I'm here. It's full-blown war.
Yeah.
They're killing non-magical folks. They're collapsing bridges. They send giants down to attack this little village and have to blame it on like a freak hurricane to like cover the thing up. And around this time, Dumbledore has figured out the Horcrux scenario. And he brings Harry in and he's like, okay, I need your help on this. There's no one else that I can really trust with this. And in a way, he's like, I kind of have to show you how to do this because I went to go destroy one of them. And it ended up being the ring. He's like, I'm going to go back to all his old haunts to see if I can track down where these things are. Yeah. He goes
to where we left him.
He goes to the shack where the mother had lived, where his uncle lived and everything. Mm-hmm. He had taken the ring and hidden it under the floorboards in like this sealed box. He'd cursed the fuck out of it, put protections. Dumbledore being Dumbledore, he got through it and everything. As he's looking at the ring, he sees a symbol on it, and it's a symbol of a triangle with a line going up and down and then a circle in the middle. And he knew what this symbol was because this is something that Grindelwald had been assessed over, and it's the symbol of the Deathly Hallows, and he knew of the story about it. This ends up being the stone in the ring is what's called the Resurrection Stone. It's the one the other brother had that could bring people back.
I've been sitting here waiting to try to bring it up to see how we can get. Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So in like a moment of just like not being focused, Dumbledore sees this. He's like, I can see my sister again. I can see my parents again. And he goes to put it on without really giving it the thoroughest once over, and a fucking curse hits him. So he gets it. He bams back to Hogwarts. He's not in good shape. He goes and gets Snape, who's like an expert on potions and poisons and curses. And Snape is like, I can isolate it to your hand. His hand is like half of it's all withered and dark and everything. Mm-hmm. He's like, it's going to kill you. He's like, how long do I have? He's like, maybe a year. And so he figures out that, hey, I'm dying. Someone's got to figure this out. It's going to have to be Harry. So he starts kind of training Harry and having Harry help him put the pieces together of what these Horcruxes are, where they could be. And throughout the school year, they're going through this memory hunt of places where Voldemort had been. Dumbledore has gone around and interviewed and talked to people who knew Voldemort as a kid to try to gather this information. And like, you can extract memories from people, and Dumbledore has been saving them to be able to review, to be able to think in his office and everything. There's a memory that was from one of the teachers that had been teaching when Voldemort was in school. And Dumbledore's like, I need you to come back and teach potions. And so he ends up coming back. And prior to this and the curse and everything, Snape was going to move to Defense Against the Dark Arts. And everyone was like, why are you giving him that position? That's what no one trusts him and everything. But he has to do that to open up the potions position to bring this professor back, because he was a potions professor. He needs him back because he has a memory that he's never divulged, and it's about these Horcruxes. When Tom Riddle was Tom Riddle in school, he had also charmed this teacher. It was one of his favorites, and Tom was one of his favorite students. He had asked him, he'd been like, I read this thing about Horcruxes. And this was after he had already made one, but he wants more information.
Tom had asked him about it.
Tom asked him, and he's like, that's some pretty dark shit, Tom. He's like, what? This is like just academic, right? He's like, of course. He's like, I'm curious. He's like, I saw this in the restricted section. No one will answer my questions on it. He's like, well, I mean, it's something that you take a piece of your soul and you store it in. He's like, why would someone do that? He's like, well, I mean, if your body is destroyed, your soul is still tethered and everything like that. He's like, but it's not a life you would want to live. It's a half-life. Like it's worse than death. And he's like, okay. He's like, what if you wanted to create more than one? He's like, Jesus, Tom. He's like, you have to kill people to do this. And he's like, what if you wanted to create like 7? He's like, isn't thinking about killing one person enough? And so he was ashamed of this because he lived to see this rise of Voldemort. He felt he contributed to it. Harry ends up getting the memory from him. Remember that potion I mentioned to you, the liquid luck?
Yeah.
Harry wins it, coincidentally enough, during a contest to create a potion, a little vial of it. He uses it and uses the luck to be able to convince the teacher to give him the memory. So after, him and Dumbledore watch this, he's like, okay, I know what it is now. I know there's multiple ones. And he's like, well, you thought there was more than one? He's like, well, I've technically found 2. He's like, you've actually found one of them. And he shows him the diary. He's like, Horcrux. He's like, what's the other one? He tosses him the ring. And he's like, Horcrux. And he looks at Voldemort's hand. He's like, yeah. And he's like, it took me a while to destroy it. He's like, I had to actually destroy it with the sword. It didn't destroy the ring, but it just destroyed the soul fragment out of it.
Yeah.
And the reason the sword could do it is because the way the sword is made, it was made by goblins, which kind of allows it to have some special properties. One thing it does is it will, if it hits anything stronger than itself to make itself stronger, it will imbue itself with that. When he stabbed the basilisk, it sucked in and got the power of that venom.
Oh.
So Dumbledore used it to destroy the ring. It kept the stone intact.
Yeah.
So they've got 2 down. Dumbledore's like, hey, I got to lead on another one. So he's like, the caveat on this is, if I tell you to do something, you do it. I tell you to run, you run. I tell you to hide, you hide. I tell you to leave me and save yourself, you do it. He's like, do you understand? He's like, yeah. They go to the cave.
Has Dumbledore faltered any more beyond just the hand? Like,
no, he's still sharp as shit. Okay. He's still super powerful, but he knows his time is limited. He's not going to be able to fight this thing forever. So they go to the cave, they get across the water, and there's the potion, the poison to drink. And he's like, what do you think we have to do? And he's like, I think you have to drink it. He's like, all right. And Harry's looking around. He's like, oh no, man. He's like, I'm drinking this. He's like, I just need you to snag it when we're done. And he's like, also remember, whatever I tell you to do, you do it. So he's like, I think with this potion though, this might make me want to do some crazy stuff. I might beg you to have me stop or not to give me anymore. Force it down my throat. So Harry's like, okay. He starts giving it to him, and you have to take it's probably 4 or 5 scoops to get all the liquid out to be able to get this thing at the bottom. So after the first 2, Dumbledore is like, kill me. No more, end it. And Harry's like, you got to keep drinking, and keeps baby bird, feeding him the stuff. And so at the very end of it, he sees the locket, he grabs it, puts it in his pocket. Dumbledore's like, I need some water. Harry's like, all right, I got some water. He goes down to try to fill the cup up with water. He tries to fill the basin with water because he can create it, and it's not working. And he's like, well, I guess I got to go down to the fucking water. He goes to scoop, and a hand reaches out and grabs him. So Dumbledore ends up regaining enough of his composure where he saves Harry from he gets dragged underwater, but he ends up like saving him and pulling him back up. They can't disapparate in there, so he has to get him back across the water in this boat, out of the cave, and he gets him back to Hogwarts. When they get there, they find that the castle is actually under attack. So one of the students that was a child of one of the Death Eaters, had been co-opted, and he was like, you're going to kill Dumbledore this year. And he's like, how am I going to do that? And he's like, figure it out, man. He's trying to punish the parent because the parent, it was Malfoy's dad.
Okay.
The blonde kid in Slytherin. And so that's the guy that failed to get the prophecy. And so he's punishing him, being like, if your son can do it, fantastic. He's not going to be able to, and he's probably going to die. This is your punishment. And so this kid finds a way to get Death Eaters into Hogwarts, like spends the whole year trying to has to do with a cabinet that can transport you between two areas, and the cabinet is hidden in the room of requirement. And so as they reappear, at the same time, once he saw Dumbledore leave the castle, he enacted this plan of bringing in the Death Eaters. They end up cornering Harry and Dumbledore up on top of this tower. Dumbledore hears him coming. He's like, go down. Don't come out for anything. You hide. And as Harry's hiding, he sees them go up, and it's like 5 of these Death Eaters. Draco Malfoy's there. And they're like, how's it going, Dumbledore? And he's like, oh, good to see you guys. How's it going? And he looks and he's like, evening, Draco. And he's like, I got to ask, how did you do this? He's like, the cabinet's between. He's like, that is very clever. He's like, much more clever than the other tactics you've been trying to kill me with this year. He tried to poison him with wine and get away with it, tried to send him like a cursed necklace. He's like, I can't help but think your heart wasn't really in this. And he wasn't really trying to kill him. It was these half-assed attempts to try to do it. And so they're like, Draco, this is your job. Dark Lord told you to do it. Do it. And he had disarmed when he came up there. Voldemort or Dumbledore shot out his wand, and he wasn't really paying attention. Draco disarmed him. Of the Elder Wand. No idea what it was.
Yeah.
Just disarmed him like he would with a wand. So that counts as defeating him.
Shit.
Draco can't kill him. And he's like, you better do this. Snape comes up the stairs. And the Death Eaters, because after this war kicked off, Dumbledore or Voldemort never knew that Snape turned and started informing for Dumbledore. He was really accomplished at being able to hide his thoughts from Voldemort. So Dumbledore, after this second war kicked off, is like, I don't want to ask you to do this, but you got to go back in. He's like, I don't want to go back in. He's like, you're going back in. So he ends up reconnecting with Voldemort, and he's like, I'm going to be your man on the inside against Dumbledore. The plan was, if Draco was unable to kill him, Snape had to kill Dumbledore. Snape tells Dumbledore during their meetings when they're discussing what Voldemort's up to, he's like, he's just trying to send Draco to kill you. If it doesn't work, Dumbledore's like, you have to be the one to do it. And he's like, I'm not going to kill you. And he's like, it has to be you. And so Draco can't do it. Harry's sitting there watching from kind of a vantage point where they can't see him, but he can see. And Snape kills him with the killing curse and knocks him off the tower and everything. And they end up escaping.
What?
Yeah. So the hope was that if Dumbledore had planned his death, and so it was something that he had been expecting, he was hoping that would be enough if it had to happen, because he has a year.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, shit. He's like, if technically it's a curse that Voldemort did, if I die because of this, and he knows about the wand or finds out, it will pass to him and he can use it. If I plan this with Snape, it's like I'm planning on killing myself because I'm commanding him and he's doing my order. So he'll do that. Well, he got disarmed before that. So Snape is now officially to the wizarding community a traitor working for Voldemort. He's still technically working for Dumbledore on his orders. They escape, and it comes to where that's like the end of the school year that happens.
But Draco doesn't know that Snape is a double agent.
No.
But now they're together because they escaped
Snape's
together?
been trying to help him kill Dumbledore, but Snape's really been just like, fucking chill, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to get yourself killed. He's been trying to protect him because he also made a promise, I think, to Draco's mother. There's a thing called an unbreakable vow. And it's like, will you help Draco in this task? And he's like, oh, fuck. He's like, if you're loyal to Voldemort, you'll do this. And so he kind of has to do this unbreakable vow thing. So, and if you break it, it kills you instantly.
Yeah.
So the next year, after the summer, pretty much Voldemort has kind of free reign. No one's there to challenge him. He's still kind of staying behind the scenes, but he's working his way into positions of power where he's replacing top ministry officials with people loyal to him. He's seizing control. He doesn't want to be the figurehead. He wants to be controlling everything behind the scenes until he's able to then present himself and have complete control.
Yeah.
So the entire next year, when it's time for all the students to actually return to school, Harry's like, I'm not going back. He's like, Dumbledore gave me this mission. We got to find the rest of these things. And the entire next year is spent hunting down these Horcruxes. So they end up finding the cup is found in the Gringotts vault of the Lestranges because it's supposed to be like, Gringotts is supposed to be like impregnable. They end up being able to break in and steal that.
Didn't they already break in once?
That was Voldemort that broke in to try to get the stone. So he should have known, but he doesn't. Harry's not like an uber powerful wizard. He's not Dumbledore. He doesn't have like super innate just magical skills. He is skillful. He has really smart friends. Hermione's a better witch than he is a wizard, and he has Dumbledore guiding him.
Mm-hmm.
He's also has things that he doesn't understand in the form of these ancient magic that protects him. So at this point, like, Voldemort's idea is like, he's definitely not skillful. It's been blind luck and help that's got him out of this. He doesn't suspect someone can break in. He has no suspicion that anyone even knows about these Horcruxes. The Dumbledore had kind of explained it when Harry had asked him before he died. He was like, do you think he knows when one of these is destroyed? And he's like, the way that he acts afterwards, there's no reprisal or anything.
Yeah.
I think he split himself so many times, he's lost connection with those pieces. He can't feel it anymore. And so they find the cup. They end up finding the locket, and they're unable to destroy these things until all of a sudden the sword presents itself to them somehow. He has no idea how it does it, but they're able to use the sword to destroy the locket.
Gryffindor sword. Godric Gryffindor
The
sword?
sword of Gryffindor.
Okay.
Turns out Snape had it and got it to them without them knowing. You don't find this out until toward the end.
Yeah.
So they find out they have the cup, and I think they end up losing the sword before they're able to acquire the cup. So now they're like, shit, we can't destroy it. But they now know that they've destroyed diary, necklace, ring. They have the cup, so they've got 4 of them. And they're like, because of the psychic connection between Voldemort and Harry, when Voldemort finds out that they had stolen the cup from the bank, he goes on like a murder spree of everyone at the bank. Ooh. And he's all of a sudden going through a mental checklist of like, where are the other ones hidden? I need to go check on them. Harry kind of tunes in at the right moment and sees an image of the Ravenclaw symbol and Hogwarts. And he's like, I know where it's at. He knows it's the diadem.
Yeah.
Because he knows the legend. He's like, he went with Hufflepuff's cup. He went with he couldn't get anything of Gryffindor's. Mm-hmm. He went with the locket. What is Ravenclaw famous for? And someone's like, well, the diadem. And he's like, he must have the diadem somewhere. So he has to sneak. Him and Hermione and Ron have been spending the summer hunting these things. At this point, the ministry has been taken over by people. The new minister of magic is completely loyal to Voldemort. They killed the previous minister after they torture him for like Harry's whereabouts, but he doesn't give him up. And so all of a sudden you get these people in positions at the ministry who are now making Harry, like basically FBI's most wanted, number one suspect. He ends up sneaking into Hogwarts, finds the diadem in the room of requirement. It ends up being destroyed. They're able to destroy it. Ron and Hermione are like, hey, we got an idea how to destroy the cup. They go down to the Chamber of Secrets, pop one of the teeth off the basilisk, destroy the cup with it.
It was still down there?
The skeleton was.
Okay.
And I mean...
teeth don't go away.
Yeah.
That's true.
And then the way the diadem is destroyed is someone casts this spell trying to kill Harry, and it's this like huge firestorm. He kicks it into it, and it's able to actually destroy it. So at this point... Voldemort, because so many have been destroyed, he starts to feel it and suspect it now. And all he's got left is the snake and the one inside him. He doesn't know there's one inside Harry. He launches an all-out assault with all of the Death Eaters on Hogwarts, and you get the Battle of Hogwarts that takes place May 2nd of 1998. And you basically have the students, the faculty, and then the remaining members of the Order of the Phoenix against this huge army. And through this fight, it's determined that Harry is, I'm trying to think what he does. He goes in and, during part of the attack, Voldemort goes to meet Snape down like in a lower section of the castle, like it's a boathouse or something like that. Harry goes down there and he's watching this interaction happen. And Snape or Voldemort's like, the wand isn't working for me. He's like, seems like you've been doing extraordinary magic with that thing. It's crazy. He's like, it's me. I'm extraordinary. The wand's fighting me. He's like, I finally figured out what happened. He's like, you were the one that killed Dumbledore. You're the master of this wand. And Snape's like, oh shit. And Voldemort he like hits him with a spell and like staggers him or like cuts him and then has the snake fucking murder him. And he's like, now I'm the master of the wand. And so Voldemort ends up disapparating again and going back to where his army's at. And Snape's sitting there dying. And Harry kind of walks in on him and is like, fuck, he's trying to stem the bleeding. And Snape's like, he starts crying. And he's like, take the memory. And he's like, okay. So he pulls the memory out. He gets it. And he goes up to Dumbledore's office and drops it in the little thing that allows you to view the memories. Mm-hmm. And it's a conversation between Dumbledore and Snape where he is talking about how he figured out that a piece of Voldemort's soul latched itself onto Harry. That's how he has connections to Voldemort and everything. And Snape's like, what are you getting at? And he's like, Harry's going to have to be killed by Voldemort. And after that, as long as all the other Horcruxes are destroyed, he's mortal. So you guys can maybe gang up on him and everything, but he'll at least be susceptible to death at that point. And Snape's like, so you've been just kind of like making sure he survived this entire time to die at the right moment. And Dumbledore's like, unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah. And not a whole lot else we could say about that.
And so Harry sees this and he's like, Jesus. And so he goes down, he tells Ron and Hermione, he's like, I kind of think I might have known this for a long time. He's like, they get this message around this time that Voldemort's telepathically communicating with like everyone in school. And he's like, I'm calling off my troops. You have an hour. Dispose of your dead. If you don't give me Harry Potter, I'm killing everyone in the castle. And Harry's like, and he goes in, he sees Lupin and his wife have been killed. Fred and George, the two twins, one of them gets killed.
No.
Yeah. So Harry's seeing all of this death of these people that he knew students have been killed. And he's like, I gotta go. And he walks out into the Forbidden Forest where all the Death Eaters are. And as he's walking out there, he has the stone from Dumbledore's office from the ring.
Yeah. Okay.
And so he's walking out and he's flipping the stone. And as he closes his eyes, he opens them and his parents are there. And Lupin is there and Sirius is there. And they're like, we're proud of you. Like, we know this isn't easy. We're going to be with you. Voldemort won't be able to see us. We'll be with you to the end. And he's like, okay. And he drops the stone and it's lost. He knows it's a Deathly Hallow. He's like, I don't want anyone else having this. Yeah. He just drops it. Goes out. Voldemort's like, oh shit, you showed up all the Death Eaters there. They have Hagrid captured.
No.
And Hagrid's like, Harry, what are you doing here? He's like, get out of here. And Harry just kind of walks up, hands down to his side, and he's like, Voldemort casts the killing curse on him. It blows Harry, knocks him unconscious, knocks Voldemort back, and it throws Harry into kind of like a limbo state.
Yeah.
The shot that Voldemort hit him with, it's going to kill the minor part first. It kills his soul. That's what knocks Voldemort back. Harry's in this weird limbo state where all of a sudden he actually meets Dumbledore and they're having a conversation. And he's like, so I was the Horcrux. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, I'm proud of you. He's like, you went out there and you faced it like a man.
What about the snake? When is the snake? Is it?
It's still there.
Okay.
It's still there. So he's like, what am I doing now? And he's like, the way I see it, he's like, you have a choice. Not many people get this choice. He's like, you can pass on. It's like, it's not a bad deal. He's like, you can go back. He's like, I'm going back. So he regains consciousness, but he's acting like he's dead. At the same time, Voldemort's kind of coming out of his stupor and everything. He wasn't expecting to get knocked back and everything like that. So one of his followers is going to pick him up. He's like, get off me. He's like, go check if he's dead. So woman walks over there, and it's Draco's mom. And Draco's in the castle at this point as well. And she leans down, and she can feel him breathing and a pulse. And she leans down, and she goes, is he alive? Is Draco alive? And Harry just gives her like a really slight nod. And she leans up, and he's like, he's dead. And all of them are like, yeah, and everything. And Voldemort's like, yeah. So it's different in the books, the historical records, as it is in the film adaptation of the historical
films
records.
Take from history, that happens.
The movie punches it up a little bit. I'm not going to say I hate it. So they make Hagrid carry Harry's corpse as they're marching onto Hogwarts across the bridge. And he's like, Harry Potter's dead. Harry Potter's dead. And as like the students are coming out and everything, they meet in like the courtyard and they see Harry's body. And he's like, you guys thought that this guy could beat me? He's like, you're putting your faith in me now. So one of the Neville comes out and everything. And he's like, I'd like to say something. He's like, go ahead. He's like, what's your name, son? He's like, Neville Longbottom. And everyone laughs because they know the last name. The woman that tortured his parents, who was standing right next to Voldemort, and she's laughing and everything. And he's basically like, you think this is going to stop us? He's like, this isn't what kept us going. Like, he was someone who was fighting for us. We're not done. And the whole thing with the sorting hat and the sword being pulled from it is it will present itself to any Gryffindor in need. And Neville had found the sorting hat kind of in the rubble. He sees a glint in it, and he pulls out the sword, and he goes to attack, and like Voldemort like blasts him back, and in the distraction, Harry pushes himself off Hagrid and stands up, and everyone turns to look as he starts running off, like to get into cover.
Yeah.
And he casts a spell and tries to hit the snake. And like the Death Eaters see this, and they're like, he can't kill this kid. Like, what is going on here? So they start to bounce because they're scared. Like they're like, at this point, they're like, okay,
he's lying.
And so all of the teachers and the students and the people that are fighting are like, okay, it's back on. So Harry's like, we got to get him into the castle. We got to kill the snake. And then it's on. The snake is trying to chase down Ron and Hermione. It goes to kill him, and Neville steps in at the last moment and beheads the snake.
Yeah.
And it just vaporizes. And all of a sudden that hits Voldemort too, as him and Harry are kind of fighting all over the castle. And they kind of are like battling together, and then Harry grabs him and locks him up and tries to pitch them both off the side of the castle into like a ravine. And as they do that, Voldemort apparates and is like flying them all over the castle, and they crash into the courtyard. And as they're in the courtyard, they go to cast, and Voldemort's got the Elder Wand.
Mm-hmm.
The spells meet and everything, and all of a sudden the spell starts working its way toward Harry, like it's going to hit him and everything like that. That's the moment that Neville beheads the snake. And as that happens, it jolts Voldemort a little bit. And as the spell breaks apart, and as Harry looks at Voldemort, he kind of realizes what just happened.
Game time.
They go to cast the spells again, and as it happens, all of a sudden they connect, and it starts moving toward Voldemort. What had happened is Harry had been captured previously when he was on the hunt.
Yeah.
And they were taken to the Malfoy's house that Voldemort was using at his base. Voldemort wasn't there. He was, I can't remember if he was off. He went to Grindelwald, and he was asking him about the Elder Wand. And Grindelwald's like, I'm not giving you any information about it. He's like, kill me.
Yeah, not you.
So he ends up killing him, but he's away from this place. As they capture Harry and everything, they end up escaping. The house elf, Dobby, ends up helping him escape from here. While they're escaping, he gets into like a tussle with Malfoy and takes Malfoy's wand away from him. Not the Elder Wand, Malfoy's wand. But it's still beating Malfoy. It's still disarming him.
Yeah.
Elder Wand, without anyone knowing, all of a sudden switches over from Malfoy to Harry. And so as they're fighting, before they cast these spells, the wand is kind of failing Voldemort. And he's like, that wand's always going to fail you. He's like, you're not its master. And so during that last engagement where it starts creeping back toward him, you can see the thoughts start to hit Voldemort's head.
Yeah.
The spell rebounds. And as he has no more pieces of his soul, he's fucking destroyed.
Wizard War
1.
Wizard War
is over. Voldemort's finally destroyed. the end of the Second War, and then all the shit that happens after that is just kind of like Harry and Ginny end up getting married.
Really?
Ron and Hermione end up getting married.
I think I knew that.
Ron has a gut, like in the future scenes and everything. He's eating good. Harry looks happy. They got their kids. They're going off to Hogwarts. I think Harry and Ron are both R's. And then Hermione's like literally the head of magical law enforcement. So she's the head of the department and their boss. And then some other shit. There's another series of like some time travel stuff that happens in some Harry Potter and the Lost Child type stuff. I ain't getting into that. This is where the story ends. You guys have stuck with it for almost 3 hours and 40 minutes. I'm holding Adam hostage at this point, I feel like.
It's the creativity behind this, I feel like, is, I don't know if I could say second to none, because Tolkien created an entire language, but just the thought that goes into some of this deep lore is incredible.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm. I'm tapped. I'm wizarded out, man. And everyone else is probably wizarded out too. But if you guys lasted the entire time, 3 hours and 40 minutes, I sure should appreciate it.
This might be a new record.
It might be. Lord of the Rings was pretty long, but I think it's close. But hope you guys enjoyed the episode. I know I've gotten some requests for some of these fictional histories. Strangely enough, there's other ones. There's Star Trek. There's Warhammer. There's a bunch of them. But as far as what I could actually already have the knowledge of the lore on that I felt confident studying, this was going to be it. So, thanks for sticking around. Anything else?
No, I think we're good.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us on this extended edition of Historically High, and we'll catch you next week.
Peace.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us for another episode. If you like what you heard, hit that subscribe and like button. Follow us. If you didn't like what you heard, still hit that anyway, because we'll probably cover something in the future that you do like. Please follow us on our social media. Adam, hit them with it.
Our Instagram is Historically High Pod, Historically High POD, and we are on Twitter at Historically High. That's Historically HI.
All right. And if you guys want to send in any feedback, suggestions, hit us up on those two, or you can even do it on Gmail. It's historicallyhighpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again.
Peace.